From the Kingdom of Nye, this is Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. From east of the Rockies, call Art at 1-800-825-5033. West of the Rockies, including Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico, at 1-800-618-8255. First-time callers may reach Art at area code 702-727-1222. And you may fax Art at area code 702-727-8499.
We've been traveling far without a home, but not without a star.
Thank you, Neil Diamond. I got my photo, you know.
Free.
And it's up on the website.
Only want to be free.
Hardly anybody gets to get a photo with Neil Diamond.
We huddled close.
But Ramona and I did. It was so cool. It's on the website now. Good morning, everybody.
On the boats and on the planes, they coming to America, never looking back again. They coming to America, home. Don't it seem so far?
Well, I'll tell you, there's no way you can just not get chills with that song. There's nobody like Diamond. Nobody.
In the eye of the storm.
Well, there's always things I forget, so I've got a couple of notes for you. Note number one. Welcome, WSGW-AM in Saginaw, Michigan. Now taking the show 7 nights a week. Good to have you with us, Saginaw. That's one. Two, Albert Taylor, author of Soul Traveler, is going to be up shortly. We're going to talk about a lot more than soul travel this time. Then I'm supposed to remind you, if you have a computer, Broadcast.com is coming to see me all the way from Dallas. And there's this new, it's called a frame rate line or frame rate something or another. And then they're going to put in a computer, one fast computer. And we're going to be sending streaming video with this new G2 technology in kind of a 3-month experiment. So go to my website where I embarrassingly speculated I might be wrong. Indeed, I am wrong. And you can hit a link and go right over and download G2 so you're ready. It could happen as early as the end of the week. We'll see. Then one other item, Larry King and I are going to exchange visits. I'm going to be on Larry King Live Friday, March 5th, which should be quite an experience. For an hour, I am told. In return, he has promised to come on my program and talk to everybody who used to listen to him here late at night. We should have a lot to talk about. Then, of course, there's The Source, and I want to tell you about that. Brad Steiger and I have written a book called The Source, which touches every single aspect of the paranormal. And then, in the end, in a way that I refuse to give away, ties it all together. In other words, so much in the world of the paranormal, whether it's what Al Taylor is going to talk about tonight, or it's UFO sightings, or it's Bigfoot sightings, or it's any one of a gazillion things. Our speculation is, with some substance, that there is a single source that will explain all of this, and that's what the book is, The Source. If you would like a dual autograph copy, be aware, my tolerance for autographing is very, very small indeed. And so I will poop out early, which means that you must order soon if you want the Brad Steiger and Art Bell autograph. Brad Steiger, I think, has a lot of stamina and will probably keep doing it, but I won't. So, if you want a copy of The Source autographed, it's 1-800-864-7991. Now, it's hitting the bookstores nationwide. But, of course, there will not be autographs there. 1-800-864-7991. One last item. Something you didn't know. The guy who does The Voice.
To talk with Art Bell in the Kingdom of Nye.
That guy. That's Ross Mitchell, of course. And some months ago, the group ZZ Top. You know ZZ Top, right? Everybody knows ZZ Top. They approached me, and they are going to use the voice of Ross Mitchell in a new ZZ Top song. I said, okay, you know about this program. It's going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to it. Anyway, they apparently are listeners, and they've been listening, and so for some reason they decided to send me a CD, a very special CD player, and I want to thank them, that will phase music. And that arrived today. Boy, what a surprise. They said just a little token, you know. A little token. Wow, cool. This CD player has something called Jet. Now, in Jet mode, it takes a song and digitally delays or does something to it so that you can actually, it's as though you were phasing in the normal way, if you want to call phasing normal at all, which means running two products simultaneously and having them cross zero beat just slightly back and forth so you end up with that wonderful phased sound. And this CD player will actually do that. ZZ Top sent me one of them. Thank you very much. It's very nice of you. So, all that said, coming up in just a moment, the author of Soul Traveler and really a wild guy, Albert Taylor. Stay right where you are.
And now, back to the best of Art Bell.
All right. Well, here is Al Taylor. Al Taylor, welcome back. Good to have you.
Thank you, Art. It's a pleasure to be back once again.
You're always a lot of fun.
So thank you. You too, Art.
Soul Traveler, you still would say you have not yet written another book, right?
I'm in the process of writing it now, and it should be out in early February of year 2000.
You're kidding.
No. I think it's going to be incredible.
Really?
Yeah, it's going to be in the first book, Art, since I was just finding this stuff out myself, and I have to admit I was very apprehensive about even sharing in detail some of the things I did, so I held back a lot of things in the first book. But this first book has been so well received that I'm just going to tell everything as I discovered it and hope people can relate to it.
What is the working title of this new book?
The working title is Soul Traveler 2, The Fantastic Voyage, and the subtitle is A Journey from the Wonders Beyond to Unveiling the Meaning of Life.
Not headed toward the small stuff at all, huh?
No. I think I want to put my best foot forward because, like I said, I didn't know that this book was going to be so well received, and I didn't know there were so many people out there beyond the people in my family having these kind of wonderful experiences.
Well, there are. Why did you hold things back, Albert?
Because first of all, well, you got to remember, here I was training astronauts at Johnson Space Center. And I knew if the book got out, I didn't want it to be too far out there so that maybe I would lose my standing at NASA and all the other programs. So I was reluctant to really tell everyone exactly what was happening. Plus, it conflicted with my my Catholic upbringing and everything that I've grown up with. So it was very difficult for me to even accept it myself, let alone try to tell someone else about it. But now I think I'm ready.
Now, how much did you hold back?
I'd say a good 40%.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
Oh, my word, 40%.
Yeah. I think it's,
Can you give me an example of a few things you held back?
Oh, well, I didn't talk about reincarnation in detail in the book. I didn't talk about past or other lives because I don't believe in past lives because through all the travels that I've had, I've discovered that there really isn't any time. Time is an element of the physical, so I call it other lives. I didn't talk about that. And I didn't talk about what I like to call the game. And the game are rules to actually living life. There's certain things that are set up that if you can become aware of them, you can live and explore this wonderful thing called life and really be prosperous. So
give me an example of some of those. That's really interesting, the game.
Well,
it is a game.
Yeah.
Life is a game. And you're right. If you know if you become aware of certain rules and the way the game is played, then you can win.
Exactly.
So I'd be very curious. Give me a couple of examples of things like that.
Well, for instance, one of the biggest things, most important things I think is to be available. And when I say be available, that means no matter what kind of strange turnarounds happen during your plans, meaning if you plan something to happen and all of a sudden catastrophe hits,
yes.
Instead of saying, oh, my God, this is the worst thing that's happened and concentrating on that, what I do now, and it's been very, very, very revealing, is I pause for a minute and think about, well, wait a minute, there must be something going on regarding this. And what that's done is it's made me available for the miracles that's happened in my life and for the wonderful people that's come into my life. And especially, like, for instance, I went to Greece last year.
Right.
And the beginning leg of my trip to Greece ended up being a catastrophe. And you know, when you take international flights, if one is messed up, the whole thing is messed up.
Oh, I know. It's like a bad omen.
Oh, it's horrible. And that's exactly what happened. For some weird reason, I got some misprinted tickets. And even the airline said, this has never happened before. My flight was my flight was supposed to take off at 9:30.
Yeah.
I arrived at 8:30 at L.A. International, but the flight had taken off at 7:30.
Oh my God!
So after that, everything happened. It seemed like a catastrophe.
How long did you get to visit that airport before you left?
Oh, Art.
How long?
I was there about 4 or 5 hours longer than I should have been. And then when I got to New York finally to take my international flight,
yes,
the flight
had already left.
It was 30 minutes from leaving, and they only had one seat, and I wasn't traveling alone. So one of us was going to have to stay stateside while the other went overseas.
Oh no!
Yeah, it got worse.
No. So what? No. What did you do?
Well, in light of all this, the thing is that I still kept thinking, okay, what's going on here? There's got to be something going on. My traveling companion was getting very upset, and that's what I mean about being available. Instead of me getting upset about it,
you turn around to your traveling companion at a moment like that, and you say, "We weren't supposed to be on that flight."
Exactly. Exactly.
It's going down, baby.
Well, no matter what it is, it's not supposed to be. Whether it be a catastrophe or putting you in a situation that you can, like, be of service, which I love to do. That's what actually happened. And I ended up meeting this woman, got on the Hilton bus with me. The first thing I did, I looked at her and I thought, this woman looks like a metaphysician or a Native American. So I just decided to ask her, and then she was a metaphysician, was on her third journey to India to help them plant rice in the fields and help them build huts and things like that. And we talked, and to make a long story short, she was very concerned about leaving her husband at home and going on this journey, but she'd planned it so long. She asked me what did I think was the most important thing that I learned through all of my spiritual journeys, and I told her it was how to love and care for people. That, to me, was the most important thing that I could ever learn. And the next day, I got up in the morning to take the flight. She ran up to me in the lobby and she said, "Oh, God, thank you for sharing that with me last night. I decided to cancel my trip. I'm going to go home and take care of my husband, and it's all because of what you shared with me last night." So then I went on to Greece, and I realized, the whole reason for me stopping was for that particular
So in other words, you talked her out of her seat, and you took her seat.
Yeah, you might want to look at it that way.
Just kidding.
We weren't going the same place. I don't know if I took her seat, but I made a seat available for someone.
When you went to Greece, did you happen to get to Patmos?
No.
All right,
no.
The next time you go to Greece, be sure you get to Patmos. Patmos is a Greek island that is like heaven. It's like going to heaven. Or at least I think it is.
I'm going. Well, when I went this time, I got away from the tour group, and I rented a motorcycle, and I went up into the Dictaean Mountains.
God, I hate tour groups.
It was just incredible.
I absolutely hate them. And you get these little Nazi tour group leaders with their little flags and stuff, and they march you along at a certain pace.
Yes.
I hate them.
It can be very bad because you don't get to see what you want. You don't get to absorb. You're constantly moving on, and they're reciting the same rhetoric that they've recited thousands and thousands of times.
You're not allowed to stop. You go by a storefront, there's something really cool, but you can't stop because the little Nazi is moving the whole group march step.
And God forbid you get left behind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but I did get to, I'm being from California and thinking that the United States is 200 years plus old, and that's really old or something. Yeah, I know.
We're newborn.
I discovered some ruins up in the top of the Dictaean Mountains that I thought were about 1,000 years old.
Sure.
After I got back down to the bottom of the valley, I found out that they were 14th century BC, which was incredible.
Yep.
So the whole thing was a wondrous experience.
Oh, listen, you're absolutely correct. I think that we would have so much less trouble in America if the U.S. government, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but would buy a round-trip ticket for every American citizen at some point during their life so they could go far away from America and look at some other country and the way things are done elsewhere.
Oh, yes.
It would really change the way people look at their own country.
Definitely, because there's so much out there. We live a very sheltered life in this country. You know, technology has protected us. We're so advanced. We know everything. And really, what really shocked me and amazed me about the ruins that I discovered is that they had irrigation systems. They were so-called primitives, which to me, the things that they developed to me were so far advanced of their time. It was truly amazing.
Well, you know all about forbidden archaeology, don't you?
No, clarify it for me.
Oh, there are a lot of things, Albert, that have been found that don't fit. In other words, archaeologists will suddenly find some artifact that would indicate there was a previous technological civilization that ought not have been here.
Right.
And because it doesn't fit into the paradigm, they take whatever this physical object is and they put it up on a shelf where it gathers dust and will never more challenge their protected little paradigm.
Right.
And there's a lot of that out there, so much so that it would blow your mind.
Right.
Michael Cremo.
Yeah, I remember reading on Chariots, I think it was Chariots of the Gods by Eric Van Daniken quite a while ago.
Yes.
And they talked about the different things, artifacts that they discovered, and one of them, I believe, was a 200,000-year-old battery.
Oh, yes.
So the core of a battery.
How about a spark plug?
Oh, well, I haven't heard about that, but that would be fantastic.
Yes.
Amazing.
And many, many other things that don't fit into what they want to believe. So they simply actually put them away and won't talk about them. And it's actually called forbidden archaeology.
I'm going to have to check that out. You know, I would think from all the things that I've read, including Zachariah Sitchin's books, I would think that there appears to be some kind of rise of a civilization technologically, and then a crash, and then a regrouping.
Do you remember Planet of the Apes?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Well, they had forbidden archaeology.
Right.
And why did they have it? They had it because there had been a previous civilization, and the apes had concluded that we, humans, had destroyed everything, and of course they were absolutely correct. We had. And they didn't want it researched because they didn't want it repeated.
Right. And the forbidden artifact was a doll that said "Mama" when humans didn't speak in that particular time period. Right, I remember.
Oh, yeah. And so it's entirely possible that there is such old ancient knowledge that we are forbidden to know because of some reason just like that. Isn't it possible?
It is very possible. As a matter of fact, if you look at a lot of the ancient wonders, such as Stonehenge and the pyramids and a lot of things like that, and even I believe they found a bead that the hole drilled in the bead was so perfect you'd have to have almost a laser to be able to accomplish it. So there's a lot of things today we cannot explain. I saw them trying to build a replica of Stonehenge with all the weight that it had going on, and it was almost a catastrophe. And we had to use modern equipment to even get close to it.
I hear you. All right, Albert, hold on. We'll be right back to you. Albert Taylor, who is author of Soul Traveler. If you want to know more about that book, it's on my website. Just go down to Albert Taylor's name and click on Soul Traveler, and you'll learn all about it. We'll talk about soul travel and reincarnation, particularly reincarnation.
to talk with Art Bell in the Kingdom of Nye from outside the U.S., first, dial your access number to the USA. Then, 800-893-0903. If you're a first-time caller, call Art at 702-727-1222. From east of the Rockies, 1-800-825-5033. West of the Rockies, including Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico, call Art at 1-800-618-8255.
You ever get a chance to see her? That's Lorena McKenna, and she really is something else. You can sort of get lost in that. Good morning, everybody. Well, I've got another guest coming up Wednesday on Y2K. This time it's going to be a woman, and she's going to have the woman's perspective and a lot of hints for you on how to get ready. And I think you're really going to enjoy it. Or maybe enjoy is the wrong word. It's going to open your eyes a little further. So you're not going to want to miss that.
And now, back to the best of Art Bell.
Here's another little canary item for you. The sea, or the sea ice actually, around Barrow, Alaska, left early and came late this year. A never-before-seen of species of shark washed up dead, D-E-A-D, dead, off Point Hope. Average temperatures at Barrow were 7.5 degrees hotter this year. It's another little canary item. Albert, welcome back.
Thank you, sir. Hey, Art, I have to tell you, the last time I was on the show, you played a song by the called Highwayman.
Oh, yes.
And I ran out and I bought it immediately, and I listened to the words, and I love it. It is definitely about reincarnation.
Oh,
I love it.
It definitely is.
It was way ahead of its time, in my opinion, too.
Way ahead of its time.
It's excellent.
I saw that in the early days of MTV. There was actually a video.
Mm-hmm.
And I went absolutely bonkers over it.
Oh,
and
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
I would love to see that.
I don't know. I doubt they still show it, but it was my only exposure to it. And, it was such an unusual... Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, and Chris Christopherson sang.
Right.
And what an effort.
Wasn't Roy Orbison in there?
No.
No? Okay.
No. Those are the ones. And you're right. It's about reincarnation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful song, and let's talk a little bit about reincarnation. Number one, the Christian community generally scoffs at the concept of reincarnation, as you well know.
Mm-hmm.
But it is my understanding that long ago, a council voted.
Yes.
Actually voted to pull reincarnation out of the teachings.
Right, of the Bible.
Yeah, of the Bible. Right. Now, how can man, I always thought the Bible was the absolute Word of God, the unretouched, unedited, unabridged Word of God.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right, well, that is what it's said to be, yes.
But
yes.
How could it be that if human beings voted on the concept of reincarnation? That doesn't seem like something you can vote on, reincarnation.
Well, you got to think about, first of all, the Bible wasn't really put together till, I think, about 400 A.D., and in Constantinople, I think what happened is as I've read up on this a lot, and they didn't want to empower the people so that they thought for themselves. So there were some things that they held back regarding spiritual awareness and reincarnation and all that, and a lot of this information was kept to a very small group, like the religious leaders or the church leaders or things like that, so that the people would follow them rather than become self-aware or independent. And maybe, it's hard to hold a congregation together if the people realize they don't need you and all they need is what's inside of themselves. So a lot of things happen to try to keep the masses kind of like in a herd mentality, so that they were followers and not leaders. So, and I don't know if there was a lot of other reasons why they took reincarnation out.
I think I know the big reason.
Well, what is your hypothesis?
Control.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's basically it. Is that when you limit the amount of information passed to a certain group, of course they're not going to be able to go out, and especially if you introduce some of fear with it, like a lot of things have, like that's the work of the devil, and the Bible says don't do that, or you're not supposed to communicate with spirits and that type of thing. When you do that, people are afraid, and they never go beyond that, and they never find out.
Well, if you thought you had another shot at life, then you might do a lot of things you might not otherwise do.
Well, you know, if you thought you had another shot at life, then you may really look at this one and say, well, why do I keep coming back here? What's the real point of this? I got to get it straight.
Here's the real problem I've got with reincarnation. What the hell good is it?
What the hell good is it?
Yeah, in other words, you know, bear with me here. If Art Bell can't remember a previous life experience, if Art Bell doesn't remember another consciousness, if Art Bell doesn't remember anything at all about any former life, then what does it mean?
Okay, in the context that you put it in, I would say that it would mean very little. But this is how I see reincarnation. I see it, and let me simplify it like this. You were raised with your parents or whatever, and they raised you certain ways, and there's probably a lot of things that they did to you or taught you during that period of time that influences your behavior today.
They took me to a Lutheran church. We were Lutherans. Until I asked too many questions and got kicked out of Sunday school. That's the truth.
Well, I would mean, like, today you may respond or behave according to certain things that you were taught back when, and you may not think about those things as, oh, I'm doing this because my mother said. It may be just an inherent reaction for you now. So reincarnation is not always something that, oh, I remember exactly who said this, but you still may act on how it's molded you as an individual spirit or a being, let's say, or soul. So it still has an impact on you, especially as, you know, like some people are just inherently open and loving to others and kind, like Sister Teresa. You know, that may be something that has taken her lifetime after lifetime to achieve.
But without a continuation of consciousness, I ask again, what good is reincarnation?
Well,
in other words, you're not really coming back in the sense of the word.
Where you can say, I remember being, you know, Bob or whatever, or a Viking or something like that.
You can say.
Well, the thing is, I'm still saying is there's even with you not having conscious recall of the experience, the actual the whatever happened in one or more lives in the past still influence your behavior today, whether you can remember it or not. Now, there's also, without you doing anything that you may not recall, but there also are some things that you can do to sort of stir up these memories. And there's been wonderful books written on the subject where people have done past life regression work, hypnosis, and things like that, and brought up all kinds of data that they didn't know about.
I know, but there are also a lot of psychiatrists out there who say, look, what we've got here with the regression is nothing more than suggestive fantasy.
You know, I think, and I understand that, and I think that type of skepticism is very healthy, but then there's some things that happen that really we can't explain. Like, for instance, I remember the story of a Romanian girl about 8 years old who kept talking about, she had a little doll, and she kept referring to this doll as her daughter, and she gave a specific name for it. Yeah. And then as she grew older, she started talking about more detail about her children and things like that. Her mother really didn't pay too much attention to it. She talked about the town in which she lived in, and then she began to talk about it as if it really happened. And she said, Mother, I've done this. I was this woman. They eventually went to this town, which is about 300 to 400 miles away from where she was born. She had never been to this town. They found, she identified a location where she lived, which the house had been destroyed, but then they searched and found that the daughter that lived in the house was actually the same name that this one was talking about, and so were the sons or the brothers of the woman.
I know there's a lot of evidence. Dr. Bruce Goldberg does a lot of work in that area.
Right.
And I've heard the evidence, but still in all, wouldn't you think that almost everybody who would be regressed, for example, would speak another language? In other words, Art Bell in another life must have been French, or he could have been Icelandic, or I mean, who knows?
I haven't studied every case or read about every case, but there are people who have spoken different languages. There are people who all of a sudden developed French accents or English or Irish accents. There are a lot of people who've written languages that in Arabic that they didn't, be previous to the experience, had no knowledge of. So there are some cases.
That would really impress me.
I agree. And to me, I would welcome that kind of information to actually add to all the other information regarding reincarnation.
What do you think the rules, probably bad term, of reincarnation are?
Well, I like to say, like I wrote in my first book, I like to say that life without reincarnation is like a stage play with only one act. There just isn't enough time for character development.
That's true.
I think, I don't think life is long enough for us to really evolve to our full potential, and our full potential is far beyond anything that we can comprehend presently. Like Daniel Brinkley used to say, or he still says, we're powerful spiritual beings.
Oh, we are.
But to say that, we really don't understand what we're really talking about. And it takes these experiences, these life experiences, to learn lessons, especially if you make mistakes, to come back to the lesson over and over again to finally grasp what's going on here. So I think that a lot of people probably are what they say old souls. And they're not talking about a person who was created before another person. What they're talking about, an old soul, is an experienced soul.
One
who has gotten
many
a lot out of
incarnations,
life.
right?
Pardon me?
Do you mean many incarnations?
Yes, many, or they've gotten so much out of the few incarnations that they've had. So there's some people who may. It's not about the numbers. It's about what you get out of life. That helps the soul to evolve.
Well, that's kind of like school, right?
Yes. So, yeah, exactly. Some people can go through the same grade and get a C in math, and some people go through the same grade and get an A.
That's right.
So the A, I would say, is the older soul, only because of the knowledge they've gained.
And some sleep all the way through.
And some don't wake up at all.
That's right. That's right. That's kind of like life.
Comatose, as I like to say.
I know a lot of people in life right now that are sort of sleeping through it.
Right. And that has to do with being available, like I mentioned before. You got to be available in the moment. And, not thinking about what it's going to be like 5 years from now or whatever, because things are happening to us in the moment. And really, all we have is right now. Tomorrow is just a promissory note. I heard someone say.
It's true.
And yesterday, as a canceled check, we only have right now. So it's very, very important for us to be alert and aware right now, because things are happening to us to help us to evolve every minute of the day.
Sometimes,
now, I never thought I'd even get into this. I was talking, I started off having out-of-body experiences, and now it's opened the door so wide that I'm covering reincarnation and past lives and soul evolution.
You know why?
And all kinds of
I'll tell you why. Because it's all tied together.
Exactly.
That's the book I just wrote with Brad called The Source. I think that out-of-body experiences, the realm that you travel in, near-death experiences, ghosts, goblins, poltergeists, all these different, even Bigfoot and all the rest of these things that seem to be visible and invisible and here and gone, and barely at the edge of sight, things we can see, like I say in Dreamland, out of the corner of our eyes.
Right.
These are all from some single source that we don't fully understand yet, and they don't teach about it in Sunday school.
Right. And even scientists are coming to the point now, NASA scientists are coming to the point now where they're admitting that 90% of the matter in the universe is dark matter, and you can't perceive it. So if we're only seeing 10%, then my God, what is out there and what is all around us even? So and people say, well, if I can't see it or touch it, then how do I know it exists? Well, you can't see or touch radio waves either, and they exist. So our five senses are very limited on what we can perceive, and there is a whole spectrum of things out there that we can't readily discern.
I can, however, explain radio waves.
Mm-hmm.
I can explain the process and how it occurs and why you don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't explain reincarnation.
Right.
I can't explain soul travel. I can't explain coming out of your body with your soul. I still can't even conceive exactly of what my soul is.
Well, 7 years ago, I would have never thought I'd be explaining it. But I can tell you this: the only thing that makes sense to me is that, you know, and it really goes back to all kinds of religious and spiritual beliefs that people have, where they talk about us having an eternal soul. If we have an eternal soul, and in the Bible it says, before I placed thee in the womb, I knew thee. So if we're talking about this soul that existed prior to being human,
yes,
or prior to being born,
yes,
then that it makes sense to me that that soul is not permanently connected to the physical body. If it's, you know, and through the near-death experience, people find that soul dislodged. But you don't have to have a near-death experience to find out that the soul and the body are two different things. And that's where the out-of-body or spontaneous out-of-body kicks in, and that's where you find out that truly you really are this intelligent life form of some sort that is eternal. So I think that explains the out-of-body experience, because the soul is something that definitely exists beyond the physical. It's just right now it's just occupying the physical body.
See, I can't say I believe that.
Well,
isn't that a terrible thing?
You soared above Paris.
I hope, yes, I did, but I hope it's true.
Mm-hmm.
But I told you then, and I'm telling you now, that I still don't know that experience in Paris was not an artifact of a living human brain.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody has ever come back from real death, not real
right.
death. And,
right.
you know, we're talking 3 or 4 days here. Now, you show me somebody sitting up after 3 or 4 days, and I'll sit down and listen real hard to their story.
Well, you know what's amazing, Art, is speaking of real death and near death, I'm going to be in Seattle on the 6th speaking to the Seattle International Association of Near-Death Studies. Right. Now, I've been a member of IANS for a number of years now, I think about 7 years. And what's amazing to me, I've had a chance to talk to people from all over the U.S. and in different countries, and it doesn't matter what they believe. Some of them are atheists, some of them are Christians,
really?
Some of them are Muslims. It doesn't matter. They all talk about some kind of spiritual experience after they've had this the near death, or after there's been a trauma. And 90% of them talk about the same thing but don't know each other and have various beliefs, and some of them are atheists. So it's a puzzle to me why all of these people are having these isolated experiences and are talking about the same.
May I ask
thing.
a question?
Yes.
An atheist. When an atheist has an NDE, how does he or she come out the other end?
Well, most of the time the atheist talks about, instead of saying, I saw Christ or I saw Muhammad or Buddha or whatever, they generally talk about, I saw a light. I saw a light, a being of light. Something spoke to me.
Okay, well, that right there, their atheism is down the tube.
Well, after a near-death experience, I don't know any people who've had near-death experiences and been an atheist prior to and still remain that. Almost everyone I've known or talked to who had either little or zero beliefs had some kind of very solid understanding of who they were and what was going on after the experience. Changed them forever. Forever.
So they're not atheists anymore.
I would say they're not. And I don't know. I would say, I would say they became spiritualist. I wouldn't say they became a Christian, a religion of some sort. I would say they became a spiritualist or spiritually aware.
Well, that's casting aside atheism. Atheism basically says, I don't believe there's a God, I don't believe there's an afterlife, I don't believe there's a soul.
Right.
When you're dead, the worms crawl in, the worms crawl out. That's all there is to it. So whatever it is they come away with, they don't have their atheism anymore.
Right. It is definitely shed. I don't know anybody. I'm not saying there isn't anyone out there who is an atheist prior to having a near-death experience, but I don't know, and I've spoken to literally hundreds of people, I don't know anybody who's had a bona fide...
Hey, you know what I think I'll do? I think I'll open an atheist line. Hold on, Albert. Let's open an atheist line, shall we? Right after the news, I'm going to open a line for atheists. That'll be an interesting conversation. Listen.
I was a highwayman. Along the coach roads I did ride, with sword and pistol by my side.
This is for Al Taylor and you.
Many a young maid lost her baubles to my trade. Many a soldier shed his lifeblood on my blade. The bastards hung me in the spring of 25, but I am still alive.
I was a sailor, I was born upon the tide. With the sea I did abide. I sailed a schooner around the Horn of Mexico. I went aloft and furled the mainsail in a blow. And when the yards broke off, they said that I got killed. But I'm living still.
And now back to the best of Art Bell.
Be it sight, sound, smell or touch, there's something inside that we need so much. The sight of a touch or the scent of a sound or the strength of an oak with roots deep in the ground. The wonder of flowers to be covered and then to burst up through tarmac to the sun again, or to fly to the sun without burning a wing. To lie in a meadow and hear the grass sing, to have all these things in our memories stored, and to use them to help us to find.
From the Kingdom of Nye, this is Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. From east of the Rockies, call Art at 1-800-825-5033. West of the Rockies, including Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico, at 1-800-618-8255. First-time callers may reach Art at area code 702-727-1222. And you may fax Art at area code 702-727-8499. Please limit your faxes to 1 or 2 pages. This is Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. Now again, here's Art.
Wonder if they'd let me wear my skull and crossbones on Larry King. I bet they wouldn't. I'll be on Larry King Live March 5th, Friday. Albert Taylor is here. And we're going to do something a little different this morning, just for fun. My kind of fun, I guess. I'm going to open an atheist line. You know, I've had clergymen on before, people of the cloth, men of the cloth, and I've had atheists on with them, but Albert Taylor is a spiritualist. I don't think you'd call him a person of the cloth. He's a spiritualist. He wrote Soul Traveler, and he thinks we have a soul, and moreover, he knows that we can travel with that soul, and that we have an eternal soul, and that near death is but a taste of after death, meaning there is eternal life. And so it struck me as kind of interesting, as I sat here and thought about it, to get some atheists on the line. Therefore, a call now goes out to atheists only. Everybody else, in fact, on all lines, just hang up. Hang your phone up. Stop calling. Stop trying to get through. Stop. And I'm going to open all my lines for atheists. And I'm going to talk to them and let Al Taylor talk to them. And just sort of curious what would come out of a couple of conversations like that. So all lines are hereby closed for anything and everything except atheists. Atheists only for the next little while. I don't know why I think this will be intriguing, but I think it'll be intriguing. So whatever line you're able to get through on, if you are a true atheist, pick up the phone and call me. Al Taylor will be right back. Well, all right. Back we go to Al Taylor. Hey, Al.
Art.
So you are a powerful spiritual being, right?
I believe we all are.
And that we have souls.
Yes.
That you can travel with your soul outside your body.
Yes.
And that when you die, your soul is eternal.
Yes. You
Okay.
know, Art, during the break, you know, this is our 9th show together. I don't know if you know, who's counting, but
Good
this is our 9th
Lord, is
show.
it really?
Yes, it is.
You're counting, apparently.
Yeah, I'm counting. But this is the first time that I felt the need for a Kevlar vest. So
Well, it'll be interesting. I mean, it really will be interesting.
Yeah, it is.
All right, well, let's see what happens.
Okay.
I've got a whole bank full of atheists here.
I bet the lights are lit up.
East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Al Taylor and Art Bell. Are you an atheist?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Where are you?
In Tennessee.
In Tennessee.
Yeah.
I didn't think they allowed atheists in Tennessee.
Oh, well, I guess I'm the exception.
Talk good and loud into your phone for us.
Okay, how's this?
Much better. So,
Great.
yeah, I can tell I hear that voice. I hear that accent.
Unfortunately, yes.
You're in Tennessee. Well, you're kind of you're in Bible country there, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, are you able to maintain your atheism openly, or are you a closet atheist?
Well, I'm the type, I try to keep my beliefs to myself. I mean, what I believe is my own business.
What exactly do you believe?
Well, I'm the type that I believe in the theories of, well, the scientific theories of how we come to be. You know,
Okay. All
such
right.
as the Big Bang or
Actually, so do I.
evolution and so forth.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't believe that there was some almighty power that set things into motion, so to speak.
You don't believe we have a soul?
No, I believe we're born, we live, we die,
And that's it.
That's it.
And so when we're gone,
We're gone.
eternal blackness.
Worm food.
Worm food. What do you say to someone like this, Al?
Well, first of all, I don't try to convince anybody. It's not, it's not even up to me. The whole reason that I'm into this whole thing is that I was keeping a diary of some strange things that I didn't even believe in, and I have to say, before all this happened, I would say that I was as close to an atheist as closer to an atheist than I am now.
All right, let's ask this caller then. Hey, caller.
Yeah.
If you were to have some illness or an accident, somebody's, threw you 60 feet in the air, hit you with a car or something, and you had your breathing stopped, your heart stopped, your brain waves stopped, blah, blah, everything stopped, and you had an experience and you saw a light and a being and another place, and you saw your own body being worked on by paramedics, would that change your mind?
I would really begin to question my own mental state then.
You would.
Yeah.
Rather than believe, you would question your own mental state.
Yeah, I mean, heck yeah, if you start to begin to see the outside of your own body, and so, yeah, I believe there's something very wrong.
Well, Art,
yeah,
that's a natural reaction. The first thing I did was go to the doctor. I didn't believe it at all. I didn't even want to believe. I thought something was definitely wrong neurologically. That's why I subjected myself to a bunch of tests. So his reaction, I think, is perfectly normal. I would do the exact same thing.
I don't. I mean, if you saw your body being worked on and you came back and you told the paramedics what they had been doing when you were dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they verified it?
And they verified it.
That would make me start wondering I'd start looking in a different direction to believe in.
Well, I wouldn't, yeah, exactly. I wouldn't wonder about my own mental state. I wouldn't think I was cracking up. I would say it's impossible. Therefore.
I don't know, Art. You know, sometimes even though you're confronted with something that has a lot of validity, you still doubt it. There's been so many people that have real situations happen,
but how
and
could
they go into that like a denial.
But how could you do that, caller? How could you do that? I mean, if you saw these things going on when you were dead, from above, out of your body, how could you possibly deny that?
Like I said, I would very seriously begin to question my own mental state and begin to wonder if I was really losing it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And lastly, if you don't mind, I would like to ask your guest a question.
Sure.
He stated that he believes there's a soul and so forth in each of us.
He did, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How can he prove this?
Well,
some proof.
You know, this really always begs from me a response that I love so much.
Oh, you want me to answer, and then you go on, Art?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody.
No,
I've had some weird things happen to me that I put down in diary form that I never planned on showing to anyone, and I was shocked that so many people all over the world are having the same experiences. It's only because other people started coming forth, because I decided to do the same, that it started slowly changing my understanding of what's going on. But I never, ever, and I still don't, try to prove it to anybody.
Okay, but so in other words, you're willing to make a statement, but you're not going to back it up.
I'm not going to try. It's not my. I'm not into proving it.
Okay,
like I said, it's something that I share. I'm sharing with people, and if they want to believe, that's perfectly all right. If they don't, that's perfectly all right too.
All right, caller.
Yeah.
You say you're from Tennessee.
Correct.
Your family from Tennessee?
Oh yes.
Oh, yes. What do you have? A couple of brothers and sisters, and mom and dad, at least, huh?
Yeah. Aunts, uncles, the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
Pardon me?
Aunts, uncles, the whole
uncles,
9 yards.
and lots of relatives in Tennessee. Nearly everybody in Tennessee is a relative. Anyway, your mom, your dad, are they alive?
My mother is. As far as my real father, I have no idea.
Okay, but your mom is alive?
Mom, stepdad, sister, yeah.
Do you love your mom?
Definitely.
Prove it.
Okay.
Wow, Art, you're shrewd.
Okay, that is a slick one, Art. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Shrewd,
it's not mine. It came from the movie Contact. I mean, really, you said it definitively. I mean, there was no doubt in your mind. You love your mom, but you can't prove it.
How does one prove love?
About the same way one proves the existence of the immortal soul in God.
Yes, but I wasn't going around making statements such as that, like, oh, well, this is definite, you know, and so.
The best thing that I can offer to people who are looking for proof is what I did is I put down in my book, in the last chapter, all the different things that I've tried that worked for me for a certain percentage of the time. I welcome anybody to just try them and see what happens, because I get so much positive feedback from people who are thinking, oh, my God, this is real. It never happened to me. So I suggest, try it. If it doesn't work, fine. But if it does work, then to me, the experience is going to be the proof. It's not about what I can do. It's about if you can do it, too. It wouldn't matter to me if I was the only one.
Well, I make a separation that you don't make, Al.
What's that?
In other words, with regard to soul travel, or what we call travel outside the body, I don't even know if I want to use the word soul, but our consciousness going elsewhere, I have absolutely no question about that. We can do that. But to me, that does not automatically transfer to immortal life, soul living on, all the rest of that. In other words, I don't think that, and I think you make your case exquisitely well for soul travel, but I can't make the leap that says that means we have immortal souls.
Well, let's say this, because this is what, there's a lot of things besides leaving the body that points me in that direction. And let's just say this, you've only had one consciously controlled experience that we can think of right now, correct?
Correct, yes.
Can you imagine if you've had maybe 100 of those? And out of those 100 experiences that you had, you maybe 10 times or even 15 times, you ran into a deceased relative that you know is dead, and after 15 encounters with this deceased relative, if you did have an encounter with him, you would begin to accept that this person is still existing in some kind of shape or form. With that type of experience...
wait a minute, why would I make that presumption? Why would I not also conclude, possibly, that my own mind was presenting me with this person for my own comfort?
Well, maybe it would depend on the information that you were given by the person.
Yeah, if they said, Art, go look in the right-hand side of your trunk down below the spare tire and you'll find that key you've been looking for,
but then
I've got a problem.
But then again, Art, without finding any tangible proof, you yourself said, if you have to ask, it's not a dream. The experience was enough for you to believe.
Yes, sir.
So if you have an encounter, I'm talking about more than once, with something, and eventually you become very familiar with that something, and that's what I'm saying has happened to me, is eventually you would have to either go into total denial or you would have to start exploring possibly that there's some other explanations to life and death that you hadn't really thought about.
I don't disagree with that at all, but I simply have not had that experience.
Right.
You have.
And without it, I totally would not even begin to even look in that direction. And not just one experience. It has taken me many, many, many times before I was even begin to look at this, because I thought I looked for every explanation because I didn't believe in this stuff at all.
All right.
I thought we were some type of genetic accident on this dirt ball in space.
Well,
that was about it.
We could be. West of the Rockies, you're on the air with Albert Taylor and Art Bell. Good morning.
Hello?
Hello.
What's up?
You.
Me?
You.
Oh, okay, so I did get on. All right. Yeah, I'm atheist, you know. And there's just one thing that makes me mad, you know.
What?
It's those people, that churches and stuff, that come to my door and they would try to manipulate me into believing in their, like, religion, I don't know. And, like, you know, I come from a small town, you know, and I always got made fun of because I was atheist. And I just, like, I don't know. I was stuck with it and everything.
You mean you would tell people you were an atheist?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I don't want to, like, believe in their Mormon religion thing. I don't know what to call it. Well, I don't think it's a religion. I think it's a cult. But I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It's crazy like that.
All right.
Well, I can understand where he's coming from in a lot of ways, because me personally, I don't think that a belief should be force-fed anyone. I don't think you should even try to sell it. I think it should be something that is based on attraction. So I don't like people coming to my door trying to sell me their particular beliefs.
Though, in a sense, you proselytize OBEs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I don't go out to people's doors and try to teach them about it. What I'm doing is sharing,
so
and if they want to come, I welcome them.
It's like you never put on a suit and a tie and get on your bicycle and go around...
Not on Sunday morning.
Knocking on doors? Let me tell you about how to get out of your body, ma'am. Can I come in for a moment discussing how to get out of your body?
I haven't done it yet, but I'll tell you, I had a real interesting conversation one morning with a couple of Jehovah's Witnesses that came to my door, and I was amazed because by the time they left, they really were thinking very differently than they were when they knocked on my door.
I always invite them in.
Mm-hmm.
I always invite them in, and you always have really cool conversations with them.
Excellent ones.
Yeah, and you can even have them questioning their own beliefs.
That's exactly what happened.
Is it?
It was exactly what happened, and it was a marvelous experience, and I hope that
For you, maybe.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't for them.
But they probably went wobbling home on their bikes.
They went away with that permanent puzzled look.
All right, first-time caller line. You're on the air with Albert Taylor. Hi.
Hi, it's really nice to speak to you finally. It's a pleasure.
Oh, well, where are you?
My name's Gina. I'm calling from Seattle.
And on a cell phone, right?
I'm on a cell phone. I'm so sorry, but
That's
it's
right.
about the only way. I'm at work, so it's the only way I can call you.
It's all right.
I don't know. I'm not sure about the definition of atheist. I always thought that an atheist was just someone who didn't believe in God, not necessarily someone who didn't believe in your soul. So maybe I don't believe in God. I've been reading a lot of Zechariah Sitchin's books, and I read Lloyd Pye's Everything You Thought You Know Is Wrong or something.
Right.
I thought that was a great book, and it changed my mind about a lot of things. I was always searching for the right religion because I couldn't find anything that was satisfying, and I read that book, and then I started reading some of Sitchin's, and
maybe we better stop and define what an atheist is. An atheist doesn't believe in God. I always thought an atheist believed when you died, the worms crawl in, the worms crawl out.
I don't think that.
Then I don't think that classically you're an atheist. Albert?
Well, I don't believe in God sitting up there with a white beard in a nightshirt with angels singing to him all day long.
You say her white beard?
You know, the proverbial, the classic vision of God with the reaching out to Adam with the curly hair and the beard. I don't believe in that. I believe that we as humans, and especially those who believe in God, have created God in a human form, because that's as close to understanding that kind of energy or intelligence as they can get. But I think it's far beyond anything that they could comprehend.
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
I'd just like to add that even though I've never been to the Eiffel Tower, enough people have been there. They can tell me they've been there. They can show me pictures. And then therefore I can believe that the Eiffel Tower exists without ever having seen it myself.
Right.
Now, you tell me that you tell me you can do an out-of-body experience. He's telling me he can do an out-of-body experience. People are telling me they've done it before. They've shown me pictures of the other side. They say, I've done it. But no one's coming up to me saying, hey, I talked to God the other day, or Jesus had lunch with me.
Very
and
true.
You're talking about something that happened so far away and so long ago that I'm thinking it's myth. I mean, I can believe in a soul because there's people standing here today that can tell me, hey, I've had an out-of-body experience. It's like something I can't see, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist because there's enough people around me that are telling me it does.
Okay, well, you're not a first-class atheist. Sorry to have to cut you off, but we're at the bottom of the hour. We'll be right back with Albert Taylor. I'm Art Bell. This is Coast to Coast AM.
To talk with Art Bell in the Kingdom of Nye. From east of the Rockies, dial 1-800-825-5033. West of the Rockies, including Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico, 1-800-618-8255. First-time callers may reach Art at area code 702-727-1222. And you may call Art on the wildcard line at area code 702-727-1295. To reach Art from outside the U.S., first dial your access number to the USA. Then 800-893-0903. This is Coast to Coast AM from the Kingdom of Nye with Art Bell.
That would be us indeed. Albert Taylor is my guest. He's the author of a book called Soul Traveler, and the implications of that are many. I mean, the soul, the substance within you. By the way, over the weekend, I wonder if Keith still has that up. We put the soul substance article back up on the webpage. It was a medical study done a long time ago, a very tightly controlled medical study. Now, there could have been more. Even the author of the study said that. He was a doctor. But he found that the human body lost about 3/4 of an ounce at the instant of death. The bodies of cats and dogs didn't. That still puzzles me, that aspect of it, by the way. But I finally found that article, and Keith has held it, and every time I bring it up, he puts it back up there. It may or may not be there now, I don't know. But it might be appropriate, too, if you wanted to read it. So, Keith, if you get a chance, you might put it up there near Albert Taylor's name. He'll be right back with a few more atheists. Well, since we're talking about reincarnation, I have a question for Al about reincarnation, Al.
Sure.
Let me tell you a nasty little habit that I have that I've wondered about. I am one of those people who, if anything is not symmetrical, I can't stand it. In other words, if I look over at one of my diplomas or one of my certificates or licenses or whatever, and, you know, framed, and the frame is tilted just a little bit out of square, I will move mountains to correct that immediately. Or if I put up an antenna and one little element is out of alignment, it will bother me so much that I will climb a 100-foot tower to make it right. You know, risking my life. In other words, I just can't stand things being not symmetrical. And is this something that would follow a person from one life to the next?
I don't know. I was thinking while you were talking, Art, that reminds me of Jack Nicholson's character in As Good as It Gets. I was going to ask if you had like 20 locks on your doors, too.
No, I don't. No, I have none of that.
No, I would say that the really surface, immaterial things are not something that probably would be a trait that would follow you.
He couldn't even walk on cracks in the street.
Yeah, he could walk on cracks.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, everything. But I would say maybe the fact that
now, if the cracks weren't symmetrical,
maybe your meticulous behavior would follow you.
It's compulsive.
Your perfection, seeking perfection.
That's compulsive behavior. And that's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay. Okay. Well, in that case, in a lot of ways, maybe not the specifics of straightening up pictures and things like that, but maybe that kind of compulsive behavior might be something that may follow you. But the real thing that will follow you is all the summation of the experience that you've had previous that brings you to an understanding, meaning that you can go from probably a person who may be very angry, very violent, to slowly changing to a person who's very compassionate and loving.
Okay, then in my next life, I should be able to look at a picture and not give a rat's patootie whether it's crooked or not.
That's a possibility, but maybe not. You know, it's hard to say specifically how you are going to be in your next life because you have free will. You can do anything you want. Everything is up to you. When the whole point of changing and evolving is when you become aware of the behavior. When you become self-aware, then you begin to change. And I would say prior to that, I really wouldn't have any reason to change until my perspective on my own life and on my own being changed.
No. I mean, talking about this compulsion I have, I've always had it. I recognize that I have it, and I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. I couldn't change it. How about that?
I don't think, I think when you have your past life review, like so many near-death experiences talk about, I don't think whether you straighten up a picture or not is going to be one of the things that you experience.
Well, what if it is?
Well, I tell you, most of the people, that's interesting. I'm glad you brought it up, too. Because most of the people that I've heard talk about past life reviews, it's not the big things that you think are a big deal. It's the little things that are really a big deal, like how you treated this old lady. Maybe she wanted to spend a few minutes with you and you didn't have time. Or it's more like things like that rather than material things as far as cars, pictures, houses, and all that. It's more of how we affect each other is what I've seen people talk about.
Well, when I get up there, Al, I'm not even going to, I'm going to bypass the whole life review because I know I'm in deep doo-doo. And I'm just going to plead nolo contendere and send me straight down.
If you believe in reincarnation, the past life review is very instrumental in helping you pick out the next life.
All right, well, here's some people who don't believe in that kind of stuff. A first-time caller line, you're on the air with Al Taylor. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Where are you?
I'm William. I'm calling from Rockford, Illinois.
Rockford, Illinois. The Rock. All right.
Yeah.
Hello, William.
How you doing? I just want to say that I believe that all these experiences that you're talking about can be reproduced by science. Have you heard anything about this?
I have heard of. There's a machine that a guy developed. It has to do with magnetic waves that bombard the brain.
Yep.
Where he's been able to have people talk about sensing non-physical beings around them, feeling of floating, that type of thing.
Yes.
if they can reproduce it, I'd like to see a lot more data on it. But what really intrigues me is that when you don't use any of those things, and it happens to people.
But wait a minute, Albert. If they could lay you down and put a few little clamps around your head and reproduce for you what you have already experienced, wouldn't that force you to question the validity of what you've experienced?
If they could reproduce exactly what I've experienced, I would. Yes, I'd say I'd be very interested in it. But from the different testing and things like that I have had the pleasure of reading about it and witnessing, they've only gone to the surface of feeling the floating. They don't describe it. They haven't described journeying to traveling to another location. Like in one of my experiences, I didn't know a woman and her husband slept in 2 different beds. That type of thing. If I'd only been having just the floating feeling or the sense of someone being around, to me that's inconclusive. It's more what happens way beyond that tends
All right, that's
to
a
lead
pretty
me
good
to believe
question.
things.
Caller, how would you account for that? In other words, I can understand a machine might give you that feeling or that sense or even the tunnel and the white light and all the rest of it. But how could you glean information that there would be no other way of knowing?
I don't know. I just don't. I don't believe you can get that sort of information.
Well, I didn't believe it either. But the thing is if you could, then I would think just the rational individual would start exploring and wondering why. To me, that is the biggest indication that something else is going on, if that's possible.
Well, I think you gave me the right answer. You said if somebody attached the electrodes to you and you began to have these exact same things, then you would have to open your mind up again.
Definitely.
Okay, that's fair. Wildcard line, you're on the air with Al Taylor.
73s, Art.
Well,
I'm Jeff in Mansfield, Ohio, listening to WMAN.
Must be a ham.
How are you this evening?
Just fine.
Hey, listen, being an atheist, no heaven, no hell, and possibly a Jodie Foster parallel universe, I'm having a little trouble swallowing what this man says, and I'd love to spend almost an hour debating him. But rather than debate him, I certainly wouldn't mind having him ask me some questions.
What you mean about your atheism?
Certainly.
Albert, you want to ask me any questions?
I don't really have any. I don't know what to ask him. I mean,
well, then may I ask you a question?
Sure.
All right. Let's punch right through. Who created the creator?
That's a good question. I'm not pretending I would even begin to know.
Oh. Okay.
Not even. Because you have such out-of-body experiences doesn't mean you become super knowledgeable about every kind of thing that there is going on as non-physical. To me, this is just a little window that I'm getting some understanding about. It doesn't mean that now I have all the answers. I wouldn't even pretend to say that. I'm just trying to share some things that have happened to me that I found out that are happening to other people. There's still a lot of things that I don't know about it that I'm definitely willing to explore and find out.
Although you have said, and many people have said, that OBEs can travel through not just space, but time as well. In other words, you can literally travel through time to another era, another complete time, and observe what's going on.
Right, but that doesn't necessarily tell you who the creator or who created the creator, or if there was a creator of the creator. It will tell you that I have a consciousness that seems to go out and retrieve information that from another source other than physically, and bring it back and actually retain it. And then later on, I've gone out and verified it. That's something that opens the door to questions beyond just being animal man.
Okay, then let's turn the question on the caller. Caller, if you were able to experience something like that, you were able to leave your body, go somewhere else or into another time, see something, and then later verify that what you saw was accurate, how would that affect you?
I'd welcome the opportunity with great skepticism and scientific intrepidness. I personally would.
That's a great posture.
I would probably give it the old, well, it must be something in my conscience, it must be something in my dopamine levels, it must be something that's just that I can't attribute scientifically or otherwise, and I just would not be able to put any teeth into that. I would have some problems with that.
No matter how conclusive it seemed to be?
Well, if it's measurable and if I alone experienced it, no. But if it's measurable and others have experienced it simultaneously, possibly.
Measurable and repeatable.
That's correct. Measurable and repeatable as long as someone else also has experienced the same thing at the same time in the same place.
And I can totally relate to what he's saying, because I've been having night paralysis all my life since I was 5. I didn't know anybody else outside of the few members of my family were having night paralysis. It shocked me that when I actually wrote it down and actually got brave enough to tell people about it, that they were coming out of the woodwork all over the globe telling me about it.
That's how it began. On this program, in fact, people started calling me up long before I met you, Al, and said, I'm having this paralysis at night. And one person said it, then gazillions of people, I couldn't stop the calls.
Right.
And that's when I began to get interested. Then, of course, I met you. We got connected, and away we went.
Right.
And it seems like everybody has this. It's very common.
It is, very much so. And up until that point, I really thought it was some kind of genetic defect in my family. But when I went to Greece and Germany, and people are having these experiences all over the place. So I have to start saying, well, it's not just my family, it's a lot of people, literally millions, then what's going on there?
All right.
Well, there's got to be another explanation.
Let's take what he was discussing, or what I said. In other words, it is repeatable. OBEs are repeatable, right?
Yes.
And they are verifiable.
Yes. Robert Monroe did some excellent work on laboratory work that's documented in his first book, I believe, where he was able to affect some needles in another room, an isolated room, in an adjacent to where he was lying down. There's tons of other information on the subject where people have been able to recall information. In my book, I didn't know the woman slept separately than her husband. I didn't know she slept with a heating pad on her leg until I saw that, and then I verified it later. So I was amazed. And the thing about this is it's not a contemporary thing. It's not something that just popped up with New Age in the 90s or 80s. It's older than the hills, and people have been talking about this for a very, very long time, and they're talking about the same things today as they were talking about thousands of years ago. So it's a phenomenon that has been shrouded in categories like occult. It's been labeled with fear-based condemnations like it's the work of the devil.
How do you know it isn't?
How do I know it isn't?
Sure.
Here we go, Art. I don't believe in the devil.
You don't believe in the devil?
No, I don't.
But you believe in God?
Yeah, I believe in God.
How can you believe in God and not the devil?
Well, because a lot has to do with my experiences. I'll tell you the biggest thing that convinces me is my aunt. God rest her soul. Died in 1982 of cancer in Cedars-Sinai Hospital.
Right.
I've had, and I wrote it in my book, and I didn't believe in ghosts and spirits and all that, but I had 2 encounters with what I believe to be the soul or spirit of my aunt. And I had to ask myself, because my aunt, I wouldn't say was the most wonderful individual when she was living, and I'd say to myself, if there was a hell, she definitely would have been locked up there.
Really? That bad, huh?
And yeah, she was that bad. And the fact that she was, I saw her on more than one occasion, and I don't know if they have parole in hell or whatever, but I started questioning that based on, that was one of the reasons I started questioning it.
Well,
And, the thing is when people have past life reviews,
right?
There's been like maybe a small percentage who've talked about hell, but the people who aren't Christians, because heaven and hell is kind of a Christian belief, but the people who aren't believers at all talk about this particular thing, and they haven't talked about having an encounter with Satan or being locked away or that type of thing.
Well, you better listen to what I have to say then.
Okay.
I bet you missed this show.
Dr. Malachi Martin.
No. See, you're anticipating what I was going to say.
Okay.
I interviewed a young lady named Sarah Albert. She It took 2 hours. She described the most detailed, compelling, real NDE to me that I have ever heard, short of Dannion Brinkley's. Now, Dannion was a miserable little bastard who got struck by lightning.
Right.
He went up to the Crystal Palaces. This young lady, Sarah, she was, I think she was 18 years old, if I recall correctly. She was on the way home from a voluntary church activity, riding her bicycle. She got hit from the rear, thrown 60 feet into the air, broke just about, destroyed every internal organ, spent a long time in a coma, was as dead can be, and she went straight to hell.
Well, okay, let me say this. Since I don't want to dispute anybody's experiences.
Right.
I can say this. In the beginning, when I first started going into the astral plane or projecting my consciousness out of my body, regardless of trying to or not, because a lot of times it just happened, what I found out is in that state, any kind of thing that you imagine, you can experience. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily real. So I can say this. If I were to describe my experiences based on just one visit, one projection out of body, it would be totally inaccurate because I didn't know that I was causing a lot of the things that I was experiencing, and I call those contaminated experiences. And once I was able to suppress a lot of the condemnations and fearful things that I have been taught through this particular life and suppress those or suspend those, I started having what I call contamination-free experiences where I wasn't creating these things based on my earthly life.
But how do you know that you didn't misjudge it and that what you regarded as contamination really was not at all contamination? It's just something that you didn't want, and your contamination might be somebody else's treasure.
Well, what I did is I started experimenting with creating things based on thought and just imagining something. There's astral substance when you're in that state, and there's some astral substance that forms and gives you images or a thought form based on how you are thinking or how you're projecting your thoughts. A lot of times I would create things and scare myself. I mean, really bad. But what I found out is when I stopped letting those fearful thoughts govern me, I started having the most incredible experiences I've ever had.
But how do you know?
And I have never regressed. I have never gone back to having fearful experiences.
But how do you know you're simply not creating your own reality?
How do I know I'm not creating my own reality?
Yes.
Because, well, the fact that I went to a friend's house and I didn't know what was going on there.
No.
I wouldn't have been able to even. Oh, you mean in just the astral?
No. Let me put it this way: because you have never gone to hell doesn't mean there isn't a hell.
Oh, right. I would say yes. I cannot say 100% there isn't. But let's remove my experiences out of the loop, and let's just talk about a lot of people who've had near-death experiences, because to me that's about as close as you can get.
Well, it is as close as you can get. We'll be right back. We've got a break. This goes out to a very special person out there, a real rat, total waste of human skin. This person knows exactly who this person is. This is for you.
Short people got no reason. Short people got no reason. Short people got no reason to live.
I can't wait for my full life review.
They got little hands, little eyes, to walk around telling big, big lies.
You know where I'm going.
Little noses, tiny little teeth. They wear platform shoes on their nasty little feet.
back to the best of Art Bell.
To talk with Art Bell in the Kingdom of Nye from outside the U.S., first, dial your access number to the USA. Then, 800-893-0903. If you're a first-time caller, call Art at 702-727-1222. From east of the Rockies, 1-800-825-5033. West of the Rockies, including Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico, call Art at 1-800-618-8255. Or call Art on the wildcard line at area code 702-727-1295. This is Coast to Coast AM from the Kingdom of Nye.
Time after time. I think we come back time after time. I lean toward that, I always have. But I'm not sure. You know, Keith has changed the way the website looks. And people really hate change. I mean, they really, really hate change. Listen to the variety of comments. Just let me read a few. Nice new look, easier to navigate. Keep up the great work. Your new web design sucks. From Yvonne. Keith, I want to congratulate you on the current Art Bell web pages. They're so much easier to figure out where to find what I'm looking for. From Ann, change is good and the work you do on Art Bell's site is beyond great, but I liked it when I could scroll down and find things like the earthquake links easily. And it goes on and on and on. Some people just can't handle it. Thanks, I absolutely love the directory on the left-hand side of the page. From somebody else, don't be changing the layout. What? You need a change? Go to work for PBS or something. Oh, you're so talented. Leave our page alone. Somebody else says, nice look. I'm kind of looking down them. I don't like the new look of the site. It's very mundane looking. Sorry. From Judy, you do a fine page for Art Bell. I was always amazed whenever I go to his webpage. You're very talented. And on and on and on. But half the people, no matter what you do and no matter what you change, hate change. They just can't stand it. Change is a constant in life. Now, when life ends, maybe there'll be no change. In a way, that's what we're talking about.
And now, back to the best of Art Bell.
I was just talking to Keith about the change of the site. And we've got a search engine in the site, you know, and I just thought I'd go try it. And so I went to the search engine, and I entered Art Bell, and I thought I crashed the site for a minute. Found 170 page matches for Art and Bell. It may be helpful to redefine your search query, it says. Yeah, I thought I drove it nuts. All right, here's Al Taylor again. Hi.
Hi, Art. Art, I wonder if I could mention one of the conferences I'm going to be doing next month.
Oh, of course you can.
It's this is one of the first times, and I think it's going to be one of the biggest out-of-body exploration weekends that people could possibly want to attend.
Okay.
It's going to be in Colorado from the 12th to the 14th. It's going to be three of the top authors, including myself. William Buhlman, Patricia Leva, and myself are going to be conducting a 3-day workshop and lecture and seminar and questions and answers on out-of-body experiences. So if anybody would love to go, I mean, it's good. It's filling up real fast. I suggest you call right away. They can call 1-888-416-4312, and I would love to see you there, and it's going to be an experience that I believe personally will change your life.
Oh, no, wait a minute. It's going to be where, in Denver?
It's going to be in Colorado, in Boulder.
Well, Colorado's a big place.
Yeah, it's in Boulder, Colorado. It's going to be in Boulder.
Right,
it's going to be at the Fisk Planetarium.
All right. Oh, really?
Yeah. It's
Cool,
going to be
cool
incredible. I mean, we have all kinds of activities planned. It's going to be the first of its kind, and I think it's going to be monumental.
All right. I have interviewed all of you.
Yes, you have.
All right. That's 1-888-416-4312. 888-416.
4312.
4312.
And I guarantee everyone's going to have a great time. But I think you should call quick because it's the spots are filling up real fast.
Yeah, I understand. If you want, will you come away from that knowing how to do an OB?
You will have matter of fact, I think you will have one of the best foundations for practicing and possibly achieving out-of-body experience than you could ever get from any one book, because you have 3 people there giving you all kinds of information. You can ask questions real time and get answers real time, because a lot of people are having these experiences or close to having them and can't get quite past the fear and other limitations.
I hear you.
And we're going to be helping a lot of people overcome that and solving that.
All right, I have 2 more remnant atheists waiting on the line, and then I'll open it for everybody. All right. So, east of the Rockies, you're on the air with Al Taylor and Art Bell. Hi.
Yeah, hi. This is Bob.
Hello, Ed.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, this is Bob from Philadelphia.
Oh, Bob.
Oh, Bob, Philadelphia. All right.
Yes. Hello to Art and to Mr. Taylor.
Hello, Bob.
Yeah, I have some questions for you. You mentioned testing the out-of-body experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I had a member of the family who used to claim out-of-body, and I asked him to just do something very simple. Have his wife put a little sticker at the bottom of the bed with a keyword on it, and when he got out of body, read the keyword. And he was never able to do that. And I was wondering if you've ever done something like that, because
in other words,
your evidence is not convincing to me.
A scientific piece of evidence of that kind.
Right. I've tried a lot of things. I've tried identifying numbers on the back of doors or moving things physically or those type of things. And generally, when I've tried to do it or planned to do it, it didn't turn out that way. The things that happened were kind of when I wasn't thinking about it, like the visit to a friend's house when I described to her what the view was out the window. It wasn't like I planned to do that prior to it happening. It kind of happened, and I went with it. One of the things that recently I got approached by NBC. They're doing a new show, and they wanted me to. They put a box here in my house, and they wanted to, one of my out-of-body experiences, to reach inside the box astrally and find out what was inside the box. And the thing that with me, and I would hope someone else who doesn't have this particular problem, is when it comes down to having to prove and test, I get real nervous. And one of the things that helps me to get out of body is relaxation. So it's kind of in a test environment for me, it's been very, very difficult. But I would imagine, and I have heard of a lot of people who haven't had that problem. So I think no matter what, there should be ongoing research for this particular thing over and over and over again, because I am an engineer scientist and I'm definitely into repeatability, and I would love to gain as much control over this as we possibly could and understand it.
Your experience, though, and I think you'll admit that it feeds skepticism.
Oh, yeah. I was skeptical about it. Extremely skeptical. As a matter of fact, when someone suggested that I was having out-of-body experiences, I told them they were nuts. I said, I don't believe in that stuff. And the only thing that I had was I knew I was having this night paralysis often. And I thought, okay, well, if I'm having these so-called out-of-body experiences, as you say, then it'll be easy for me to go back and find out what it is, or if that's really it. I was shocked that the first time that I knew, I actually tried and was thinking about this in that paralysis state, that the experience that followed after the night paralysis permanently changed my life. I never in a million years would have ever believed in any of this. So I totally understand anyone, even after you hear me, even after you read my book, who's skeptical, because I think I would still be skeptical if I hadn't had the experience myself.
By the way,
I've
written a book, 500 pages. No one's ever read it but me, but I've written one. I have a couple other questions. Is my soul, and I know you're not an expert, but to the best of your knowledge, is my soul the same thing as my spirit? What is the difference between my soul and my spirit?
Well, now that's a good question, because it depends on your religious belief or your belief period.
Oh, well, now wait a minute.
Well, I have none.
Well, some people think. I've heard various things. I don't know. You know, when I think of if I think of the spirit, I think of the spirit and the soul kind of the same thing. I think we have a mind, body, and spirit. Our mind is one thing, our body is the physical, of course, and our spirit is the soul. That's how I look at it. Because, I mean, when you're talking about we have the soul and the spirit are both things that are non-physical, and we have one of each, it can really confusing. So I like to simplify it and just say the soul, and if somebody wants to call it the spirit, that's fine. You can do that too, because what we're talking about is your true essence, what you really are beyond any physical limitations. And whatever that is, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that brings up another thing that that I wrote about in my book there. What is the essence of spirit and soul? Because this was created. Whatever it is, it was created. Because before God created, there were no spirits, there were no angels, there were no souls. So he created something. So essence, soul has essence. It has some substance.
I'll tell you. I just had Keith go to Al Taylor's name and post an article called Soul Substance. And it is the experiment that was done with weight. And it describes in detail how the experiment was done. It discovered that nearly 3/4 of an ounce leaves the human body at the instant of death.
Right.
Now, that's posted up by your name right now, Al. Mm-hmm. And I would suggest people who are curious go get it. It's a very rare medical study.
That is a very interesting study. I've seen some videotape on that, and you can actually see the gauge move when the person actually expires. I would say that then that adds some substance or mass to the consciousness to a certain degree. There's something that definitely happens there. It's something when the person dies. It's quite phenomenal.
Yeah, I've been sent that material. I've read it. One more question. Do our souls have awareness or intelligence or some faculty along those lines?
Oh, definitely. And beyond that, even a sense of humor. You don't lose a lot of what you have now. You lose a lot of the attachment for the material and insignificant things, but you retain a great deal of who you are and what you are. Because truly, beyond the physical, your consciousness, your thoughts, your expressions, your laughter, everything, that is part of the soul. So it's basically almost 90% of who you are right now and how you look at your surrounding environment right now. It's 90% that.
What prompted those calls was my thoughts about soul. You have a soul the instant you're born. Is that soul mature or is that soul immature in its intelligence?
I don't look
in a coma. Is my soul lucid or is my soul also in a coma? And suppose when I'm drunk, does my soul get drunk or does my soul remain lucid?
Well, I don't look at it as having a soul when you're born. I think a soul is something that you are, period. So before you're born, you're soul. After you're dead, you're soul, and you will always be soul. And I don't look at it as like having it in the pocket. It's not. The soul is not affected by physical. The soul is conscious on a state that a lot of us aren't aware of. Some of us accidentally tap into it through meditation and through what some people may call channeling or something like that, because sometimes people contact a higher self. But the soul is, first of all, not governed by physical limitations. It is a multidimensional entity, conscious entity, and it may be acting independent of your material human self. So it may have, as a matter of fact, it probably is acting in ways that are far beyond what your material self is capable of contemplating or understanding.
Can your soul or your spirit manipulate physical matter in any way, shape, or form?
I would say there are no limitations to it. I would say that's more than probable, impossible.
Impossible that you could do
I would say it is. I haven't been. It's very difficult to run tests on an individual soul and have it do stuff for us. But I would think, because one thing that kind of interests me is, do you remember the great Kreskin art?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I used to think all that was really very fake. I didn't know very much about psychokinetic energy and what he was doing. I just thought it was a scam. Not too long ago, about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I went with a friend of mine to what's called a PK party, and you may have heard of them. I didn't believe in that stuff at all. Now, while it was about 30, maybe 35 people in the room, and I'm always a researcher, so instead of concentrating on bending my spoon, I'm looking at everybody else's spoon. And after the actual demonstration was over, I was one of the few people who didn't bend the spoon. But what shocked me was that my friend that I've known for a very, very long time bent their spoon. It wouldn't have mattered if everybody else did, but my friend, I know them. And I said, wait a minute, I know you. How did you do that? And my friend said, I just believed that I could. So I thought, that's real interesting because I know my friend. I went home the next day, and I sat there with nobody in the room, and I grabbed one of the spoons, and I went through the procedure that I learned a couple nights before, and I have that spoon today. I was shocked that not only did it bend, but it bent around in a curlicue, and I keep it to this day because that shows me that I don't know what it is, a part of us there, but there's a part of us that can actually project and affect physical matter.
I got to tell you, Al, I would give a lot of money to see that happen.
Oh, I would. When we see each other again, Art, I would just show you the spoon. I'm shocked at it.
Then I'll give you a lot of money. Not just to show me the spoon. I want to see you actually bend one.
Oh, you know, Art, I can give. There's so much information on PK parties and demonstrations like this where you can actually do this.
In fact, you know what, Al? I'm going to have moving video, streaming video, maybe by the end of this week. And so I'm going to put a spoon on camera, and I'm going to try to get millions of minds to twist that sucker.
That'd be a very interesting test.
Yes, it would.
Very interesting.
Yes, it would. Caller, anything else?
Yes. On the reincarnation,
yes.
We've lived on and on. I have no remembrance of any life but this one.
Right.
Same here.
Right.
Consequently, even if I had other lives, what difference does it make in that I can never remember them?
Same thing I asked Al.
And it's.
I was cruder. I said, what good is it?
Well, like I said, in a lot of ways, we kind of look at ourselves and think that we are the summation of this particular life experience. But regarding reincarnation, there's experiences that you've had prior to this one, according to the theory of reincarnation, that affect you to this date. So you may be acting upon certain things that you may not have conscious recall of readily, but if you really wanted to explore this and find out, there's things that you probably haven't done as of yet, like hypnotism and things like hypnosis and past life regression and that type of thing. Not everybody who goes to try these past life regressions and things are going to come out of there saying, now I remember. But I was shocked that I have attended a few, and I was shocked that a few people could retain information. But the one thing that really surprised me was that when I went, and I mentioned it in my book, because I didn't believe in any of this stuff. I mentioned in my book, I went with a friend of mine, and during the hypnosis or during the session, I thought I was doing some really good visualization, because I do that. I'm an artist, and that kind of thing. So I visualized this particular scenario of a past life, let's say.
All right.
The thing that shocked me was that my friend had the same perception of a past life, but just from a slightly different perspective.
Gotcha. All right, hold it right there. We'll be right back.
Nights in white satin, never reaching the end. Letters I've written, never meaning to send. If you could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old-time movie about a ghost from a wishing well, in a castle dark or a fortress strong with chains upon my feet. That ghost is me, and I will never be set free as long as I'm a ghost you can't see.
From the Kingdom of Nye, this is Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. From east of the Rockies, call Art at 1-800-825-5033. west of the Rockies, including Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico, at 1-800-618-8255. First-time callers may reach Art at area code 702-727-1222. And you may fax Art at area code 702-727-8499. Please limit your faxes to 1 or 2 pages. This is Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. Now again, here's Art.
This guy's absolutely incredible. This song is haunting me. Has that ever happened to you? Haunted by a song? This one doesn't.
I walk away like a movie star who gets burned in a 3-way string into number 2. A movie queen to play the scene of bringing all the good things out in me.
Did you ever consider that the feelings produced by some music are a verification of a spiritual side of you? What else can it be? Scientists, I'm sure they'd say brain chemistry, but somehow that one just doesn't click. All right, back to it we go. Here once again is Al Taylor. Al?
Hello, Art. Art, I guess I can take off my flak jacket because the anti-astro traveler fire hasn't been that bad.
No. No. I didn't think it was going to be that bad. I just thought that it would be interesting taking...
I think it was very interesting.
A few people who simply don't believe in the spiritual.
Right. But, it hasn't been as bad as I thought. Even the people who've called in, there seems to be a twinge of some kind of acceptance of something beyond just the physical body. I mean, one woman was talking about the soul.
I know.
It's kind of interesting.
You know why? Because there are really very, very few true atheists.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who doubt. There are skeptics,
mm-hmm.
and they call themselves atheists, but they long, like everybody else, for the other thing to be true.
Right.
So, given an experience, most of them would say, well, yes, I would have to sit down and evaluate it as a possibility if it occurred to me.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And I'd say most people would take a no, it doesn't exist attitude or approach because a lot of people don't want to be fooled or disappointed or that kind of thing, or misled.
Well, if they're right, there's never anyone around to say I told you so anyway.
That's true.
East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Al Taylor and Art Bell, top of the morning.
Yeah, hi, this is John in Houston.
Hello, John.
Hello, John.
Hey, first of all, I'd like to say real quick that I've always thought that the life that we're living now is the death that we were afraid of in our past life. You kind of get what I'm saying? In our past life, we were afraid to die.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out it was this life that we're living now. See, that wasn't that bad. And now we're going to do it again and again.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think, in a way you could look at it like, if you want to be afraid in the life that now, because you're creating you're setting up the possible learning experiences for the next life.
Right.
So you'd be very conscious of what you do now. That way maybe there's some lessons you can avoid in the future.
Uh-huh. Also, about the animals of our spirit, the spirits of our animal friends, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think all life has some kind of soul. I don't think animals are very different from us. If you look at them anatomically, they have a tremendous amount of similarities. And I think that every living thing has some type of eternal energy source or energy, a conscious energy.
Anything with a personality.
Yeah, but that's unverifiable because now we're really talking about a belief of mine because I haven't had any conversations with astral animals.
Right.
But I don't think we are as separate as we think we are from things that aren't human.
Right. They've got to be there, though, I'm sure, because they have a personality. They might not be able to reason or talk, but you can tell that there's something in there, especially when they give you those certain kinds of looks like my cat does. It makes me think like there's a person in there.
Either that or we are attaching emotions and reactions to these animals that we should not be doing, and it's a human thing to do. It's hard.
Well, I saw a videotape not too long ago. It was called When Animals Play.
Yep.
And I was really amazed at some of the things that animals did that I didn't know they did. You know,
Well,
they play like humans.
I know it. I'm really in a skeptical mood tonight for some reason. Now, here's somebody who writes, "Hey, Art, I thought I was stubborn. For 28 years, the question, do we survive death in some form, really bothered me more than most people, I think. I finally found my answer after reading a dozen or so books on NDEs. It was clear to me after reading Melvin Morris's book, Closer to the Light, that we do indeed survive physical death and that it was not oxygen deprivation, made-up stories, or just a creative imagination. But, boy, you take the cake, man. I haven't even had an OBE. Just attended a William Buhlman OBE workshop, though, and so obviously he's disgusted with me because I've had an OBE, and here I sit, still skeptical, saying, well, it could be something that our human mind can do. That doesn't mean we survive death."
Yeah, you know, I can understand his skepticism, because the experience is to me, that's all that's going to do it for me. It doesn't matter what you say, Art, how many books I read, or any of that. I would always have that doubt in the back of my mind if I hadn't had the experiences. The thing about it is that I get a lot of letters where people are saying, I haven't had the experience, I'm trying this, I'm trying to get the vibration going, and it drops off. Well, the big thing that I'm telling that I'd like to tell all these people is release that wanting to control and just try to let it happen naturally and let it go. For this individual that's talking, I'm sure Bill gave him a wonderful foundation to work on. The key here now is relaxation and clearing the mind.
All right. First-time caller line, you're on the air with Al Taylor and Art Bell. Top of the morning.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Art. How are you?
Fine. Now, you're going to have to yell at us a little. You're not too loud.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad I got through. I've been listening to the show, and I've been listening to a couple of other shows, and I've always been a believer in God. I grew up Catholic and everything, and I became a Christian 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. And I became even more of a believer in God because I don't know how your feelings are when you hear the term getting saved or born again. But the reality of when I came to know God in a more closer way than I did before, it was actually so real it kind of scared me in a way because of the way that, I was living, my life or, doing what I was doing. And when I came to know God, my life totally changed. Totally. As far as reincarnation, I don't know if I believe in that or not. What I believe is I believe that we were put here on this earth by God, and I was like you, Al. I never believed in hell until I became a Christian. I always thought that, God was the loving God. He'd accept all of us into heaven, and I kind of believed on that term. But now I see things differently. I see life more differently.
The problem that I have, caller, with what I think you believe is that you believe in a fearful, vengeful God. In other words, that if you do something wrong, I don't know, break one of the commandments, whatever, you're going down to the fiery pit, and God is going to cast you out.
Well, no, it's not. Well, that's what getting saved or born again means. You accept, a lot of people don't believe Jesus walked the earth or, stuff like that. What I would say to somebody is I wasn't here when the dinosaurs walked the earth. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. I believe that one must be born to get saved. God is a forgiving God, and when you turn your life over to Him,
Yep.
I mean, it's been such
I know. We're very familiar with all of this. Thank you.
That's kind of like, what I was talking about, or you mentioned, is that I think people humanize God and they give Him all these traits, these negative traits that we have, like vengeful and jealous. Can you imagine a supreme being with no competition being jealous? That doesn't really make sense on a human level to me.
Yeah,
so
I
I think
wondered about that.
God is beyond the things that we attach. It's not. I have trouble accepting a jealous, vengeful, angry God that has all the bad things that we have.
Well, accept that. You remember when God got real angry at the the worshiping of idols and gold figures and all that, and destroyed them and everything. That's a pretty angry, jealous, vengeful God.
Yeah.
Right.
And to think about it, without any competition and knowing future, past, and everything you could possibly want to know about everything, God knows that things are going to work out exactly as He planned. So what's the point in Him spinning His wheels like we do on the little minute things?
And if God was so upset at the money changers, then how come Wall Street's going gangbusters?
Well, money is not an evil thing. It just depends on what you do with it.
West of the Rockies, you're on the air with Albert Taylor and Art Bell. Hello there.
Hi, my name is Jesse, and I'm calling from Washington.
Hello, Jesse.
Hello,
Hi,
Jesse.
How you doing, Art Bell and the other gentleman? I wondered, you had a question about, whether we have spirits and souls and stuff like that. And I wanted to give a Native American point of view on that.
Wonderful.
All right.
Well, the Native American point of view, the way I was raised, is what we have is we have a physical body, then we have a spirit, then we have a soul that encases that's inside the spirit. And what happens is when we leave the physical plane, our spirit goes to a spiritual plane, and then our soul goes to a soul plane. And then what happens is the soul is actually layers like a tree. And what happens is when we come back to in reincarnation to another level of existence, then what we do is we pick up our spirit, and it has many, many layers to it, and then we come into our physical body, and that's why we have a lot of remembrances of past lives.
And you just brought up something very interesting, because the way you put it, by the way, I traveled around with a dear friend of mine who wrote Pathway to the Spirit World a long time ago, and she's a Chata. Okay. And the way you put it, makes me think that possibly people can perceive the astral body as the spirit. And within the astral body, we have more than one non-physical body. Within that, eventually, you get to the true form of ourselves, and that is the soul. So people may interpret or think of these other bodies that we have as part of the spirit. At least that's what it sounds like.
Well, it's kind of like that, but it's kind of like the rings of a tree. We have layers of ourselves.
Right.
The soul is the pure entity of the creative force that goes through all things. And then the spirit is that protective force that keeps that soul from being harmed or from, that gives it its personality.
Right. Well, the same description can go for the astral form, which encases not only the etheric form or etheric body, but the subtle form also, and I think the mental body. So we may be talking about the same thing, just different words to describe it.
Oh, I agree. There's a lot of different belief systems out there. And Art Bell was asking, one gentleman asked, what was the purpose of our being here? What was the purpose of reincarnation? And the way it was explained to me growing up as a child, that the purpose of our being here is because it's like a big school. And what we do is we learn these lessons.
That's it.
And that everybody's at a different level of existence.
That's it.
But my complaint, caller and Al, is that if it's a big school and there's no consciousness, a continuation of consciousness from one life to the next, then how are we to apply lessons learned?
Well, Art, you mentioned this before. Let me give you an example. You probably heard this story about the little girl who was watching her mother prepare a ham for cooking, and her mother lopped off all four corners of the ham before she put it in the pan. And the little girl said, "Mom, why do you do that?" She said, "I don't know. That's the way my mother taught me." So she went to her grandmother and she asked her grandmother, "Grandma, why do you lop off the corners of the ham before you cook it?" And she says, "I don't know. That's the way my mother taught me." So she goes to her great-grandmother and she says, "Why do you cut off the edges of the ham before you cook it?" And the great-grandmother said, "Oh, you don't have to do that anymore. That's because the pots used to be too small, but now they have bigger pots." So we do a lot of things that maybe we don't necessarily know why, and we can't say, "Well, I don't know why I'm doing this," or is this because of a past life? There may be subtle things working under the conscious layer, so to speak, or conscious awareness that motivates us to react or to take action in certain things that we may not be consciously aware of.
All right.
That's how I believe reincarnation is. It works in the background. It's kind of like a conditioning, like Pavlov's dog. The dog doesn't know why it's drooling because the bell's going off. It hears that, but it doesn't exactly know why. that kind of thing.
Well, when I go to Street and Picture, I assure you I'm salivating just like Pavlov's dog. Anyway, listen, I want to give you a chance this hour to plug your book.
Okay.
Which is a good book.
It's like on the last show we mentioned, it went to the #1 LA Times bestseller. It's doing wonderfully. I'm getting a lot of wonderful feedback on Soul Traveler, A Guide to Out-of-Body Experiences and the Wonders Beyond. You can get it at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, Borders. It's pretty much all across the nation, and eventually coming out in about 4 or 5 different foreign languages.
Well,
and
no kidding.
It's going bonkers.
Well, I'll sure vouch for it. I mean, OBEs are absolutely real. Whatever they are, whatever they mean or don't mean for a life after death, there's no question about the fact that they do occur, and that's a good instruction manual on how to do it.
Great. Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you, Art, for the endorsement.
Yeah, you bet. First-time caller line. You're on the air with Al Taylor and Art Bell. Good morning.
Hi, Al. Hi, Art.
Hello.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
I just wanted to make a comment about the soul, like a Christian perspective on it. That we're like built like maybe if you take a soccer ball and the outside of the soccer ball is like your body, and the inside, the part that blows up, the rubber part, is like your soul. That's like your body. So your body and your soul are kind of the same. And then the inside part, which would be the air, would be your spirit. And that was my way of always thinking of it. And Art, I just wanted to say I love your program and all the guests you have on. They're very interesting.
They certainly are.
They certainly are.
All right. Thank you very much for the call, and take care.
All right.
I kind of, the ball analogy is a very good one, but I kind of like, when I was a kid, I used to go to work with my mother, and she worked at the Griffith Park Golf Course here in Los Angeles. And I would walk around and look through the little lakes and grass, shrubbery, and find golf balls. And then what I would do is take them home and get a hacksaw, and I would cut the golf balls open.
Why?
And the first thing I find is it's wrapped in a lot of rubber bands underneath. And then if you undo all the rubber bands, then you find this little hard ball at the core of things.
Really?
And that's kind of how I look at the outer the white casing is like the physical form. The rubber bands, strands that are wrapped around the ball inside are like the astral or subtle bodies that we have, and then the core is like the soul.
I never knew all that was in a golf ball.
I was shocked too, but yeah, I found that out when I was about 10.
I have never cut open a golf ball.
Well, now you can do that, Art, and you'll be amazed.
And so there's a solid center.
There's a solid rubber center, and it's surrounded by what looks like a bunch of rubber bands. And then after that is the hard white casing that you're used to seeing.
Ooh, that's really weird.
So, yeah, we are multi-layered like a golf ball.
All right, listen, I have one more hour of the program, and you are welcome.
I would love to hang in there.
All right, then hanging in is what you're going to do.
Great.
Stay right there, Albert. Albert Taylor is my guest. I'm Art Bell, and I do have one quick call I'm going to make.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone.
Someone down near Kingsville, Texas.
I can see all obstacles in my way.
Something weird's going down Texas.
Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day.
This is Coast to Coast AM. Don't touch that dial.
It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now. The pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's
And now back to the best of Art Bell.
To talk with Art Bell in the Kingdom of Nye. From east of the Rockies, dial 1-800-825-5033. West of the Rockies, including Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico, 1-800-618-8255. First-time callers may reach Art at area code 702-727-1222. And you may call Art on the wildcard line at area code 702-727-1295. To reach Art from outside the U.S., first dial your access number to the USA. Then 800-893-0903. This is Coast to Coast AM from the Kingdom of Nye with Art Bell.
That, my friend, is ELO, phased. Just something about it that I love. Well, all right. When I did the first hour of the show tonight, I read you this in part. Art, you need to know about the black helicopters and the no insignia Delta Force troops terrorizing citizens here in Texas. That'll get your attention. There is a nationwide news blackout of the real facts. The black helicopters with no insignia swoop into Texas towns and cities, disgorging shock troops wearing black uniforms with no markings and black ski masks. They use live ammunition. What? Yes, live ammunition as the helicopters drop into inhabited population centers at below building top level. Loudspeakers blare out their training scenario. Martial law, it's quote here, quote, martial law has been instituted. Citizens are barricaded in the building and refusing to surrender their weapons. Disarm them or shoot to kill, end quote. Art, I swear to you that 3 days ago, all this took place in Kingsville, Texas, next to a nursing home, and only the police chief was forewarned. Not even the fire chief knew what was coming. They accidentally started a fire. It burned out a police building. They accidentally cut power lines. This same event has taken place in Texas towns with no warning or permission. They completely terrorized these people. This is open intimidation of the populace by the federal government using paramilitary forces. And here's somebody who used to live in Kingsville, Texas. If you wish, you can give your name. Jim, you want to leave it at that, Jim, or you want to give your name? Hello? Jim? There you are.
Yeah.
Okay, there you are. You want to give your name, Jim, whole name, or is Jim enough?
No, Jim's fine. All right, we'll just leave it with that.
Okay.
Well, it didn't happen just 3 days ago. Actually, it happened on February 8th. It's been almost 2 weeks since all this happened. That's how well they've had this thing, you may say, buried.
All right, did the guy who wrote this that I just read to you, did he have it right?
Well, he had it pretty well close. The only thing that he was a little bit wrong about was about them saying anything about it. And also, he really didn't state that they did this for over 2 hours of this shooting up of the town. This was in the middle of downtown Kingsville.
What the hell? With live ammunition?
Live bullets, live grenades, rockets.
What?
Explosive munitions, and everything.
Excuse me, how big is Kingsville, Texas?
A town of about 25 to 30,000 people, a little sleepy college town down about 40 miles west of Corpus Christi, Texas.
Man, I bet that got their attention.
Yeah, especially in the middle of the night. I mean,
You've got family there, or how do you know? I mean, who?
Yeah, I was born and raised there, and then I've got a lot of family that are still down there. And I found out about this, and the first thing I did was call them up to find out what was going on.
And what'd they say?
They told me that they were kind of freaked out about everything that was going on. It had happened a while back, and they were all just kind of getting over it by now, but it seems like everybody's kind of getting up in arms by this point and trying to do something about it, and who knows, maybe they're trying to sequester or keep everything very quiet by not letting many people know about it. Because the city council met today. I don't have any idea what happened down there, but I'm sure I'll probably find out today. But it was quite a mess from the sounds of it.
Well, I'll tell you, if I woke up in the middle of the night and there were a bunch of black-socked, helmeted, thug-booted guys shooting rifles and throwing grenades and stuff, I don't know what the hell I'd think.
Well, they were rappelling out of the helicopters right in front of their house there. Where she lived was right across the street from the area that they were doing this at. And this was not a small area. This is about, I'd say, 300 yards by about a full city block in width. We're talking a pretty good-sized area. And then they said it was near a nursing home. Yeah, it was kind of near a nursing home, but it's not a nursing home. It's more of a retirement community for, you might say, underprivileged elderly people. And, like,
right.
These folks, you know, it was scaring these poor old folks to death. I can just imagine, you know, what they were thinking. I mean,
but you know,
blowing up around them for 2 hours.
Okay, you know, without question, you talk to your family there, you know this is true.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, and they've taken everything they got to do to take care of what they've got by this point. They're not going to let them know where they can find this stuff.
That's absolutely astounding. Black ski masks, the whole thing?
I have no idea about that part of it all. They just said that they believe most of the troops were staying over in Corpus Christi over at around the Naval Air Station there, and they could tell that they were hanging out because they could see some of the troops eating at some of the local restaurants, and they just really didn't fit in well with the rest of the people around. Their hair was real short, and, you know, they would call them kind of like white sidewalls running around everywhere from what I had read. And I don't know. I mean,
how to surprise us?
Everybody hanging out here getting a little bit shook, but I guess what can we say?
All right, sir. I appreciate the report and the verification. Boy, I'll tell you. Can you imagine a sleepy little Texas town in the middle of the night? Black helicopters come swooping in. Troops are rappelling down and using live ammunition and shooting up your town. I don't know what the hell you'd think. I don't know what the hell I'd think. That's really weird. Albert Taylor will be right back.
And now, back to the best of Art Bell.
I'm getting reports of an earthquake in Taiwan. Looks like about 6.1, 80 miles or so from the capital of Taiwan. Actually, 90 miles southeast of Taipei, Taiwan. How about that? It was felt for about a full minute, and we'll get more details as they come in. All right, once again, isn't that weird? Have you ever heard of anything like that? The military zooming into a town and shooting it up?
No. They usually do covert things. That's a little blatant.
A little blatant. Can you imagine waking up in, you know, a sleepy little town? There you are in the middle of the night, and you start hearing shots fired. You look out your window. There's guys rappelling out of black helicopters and throwing grenades, live grenades.
You know, it's funny, you know, I've been watching, I was in the Air Force for a while, and I believe you were too, and I watched the Air Force's explanation of the Roswell incident, the last one, and I think they've gotten it, this is my opinion now, I'll probably have black helicopters knocking on my door here shortly, but I think they've gotten to the point where they're looking at the American public like, you can't do anything about it, so, you know, we're not going to even try to hide what we're doing. You can't do anything about it. Because, I mean, telling us that the Roswell crash was just a weather balloon when the Army Air Corps is the one who initiated the whole media coverage of the thing. They're the ones who called the local newspaper. The local newspaper didn't call them. And then to turn around a couple days later and say that it didn't happen that way.
Roswell case closed my foot. All they did was open it back up again. And any straight-thinking person laughed their way through that news conference.
Exactly. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. So, but I think they have the attitude is like, you know, what are you going to do about it? We're just going to deny it, and even I believe the congressman or a senator in New Mexico tried to get data on it, and he wasn't able to retrieve it.
That was Congressman Schiff, by the way.
Right. So they've kind of had this attitude, you know, what are you going to do? I think.
Right. No, I agree. Here's a question for you. Would you ask Albert, please, if the LSD out-of-body experience is valid?
LSD?
LSD.
I don't know what that acronym is.
You don't know what LSD is?
Oh, LSD, the drug.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, there are drugs that will initiate or assist in having an altered state of consciousness experience, or it could be an out-of-body. There are some that will inhibit. So, yes, it is very possible to do that. I don't recommend it at all. But, yes, it probably is valid. But I would say that if you go into the state with any kind of drug that's going to alter your perception other than being naturally in the experience, then you may not have a true uncontaminated experience, and you may not be able to filter out all the stuff that I talked about earlier that you create yourself.
Sure. All right. First-time caller line, you're on the air with Al Taylor. Hi.
Hi, good morning, Art.
Good morning.
And good morning, Al.
Good morning.
Art, I'm so glad to get through. I'm a big fan. This is Dave from Chicago.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
And excellent show, and you've just been on fire lately. I got to tell you, you've had some great weeks. You really have. It's been. I've been listening for a while, but the last few weeks, it's just been every night you've been knocking them out, and we really appreciate it out here.
Thank you.
I do have a question for Al.
Mm-hmm.
I am a big animal lover.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, we talked, many times we've talked about the weight thing with the soul as you die. Now, Art, I've heard you mention, and I've also read that with the animals, there is no weight differential.
In the experiment that I've got posted, that is true.
Mm-hmm. Now, does that mean that animals are soulless?
You know, we haven't proved yet that what we're measuring is the soul leaving. So it's still kind of inconclusive.
What's your thought on it? And the reason I'm asking is because I do believe that we have a soul, and I do believe there is an afterlife, and I do believe there's a lot more than.
I tend toward believing all of that myself, sir, and
Yeah.
I also believe that animals.
Art, don't you down deep? Don't you just you don't you know? I'm not a real religious guy, Art, but
no, same here.
There's something down deep that you just know that this can't be it.
I do. I agree with you, and with respect to animals. I agree with your earlier caller. Look, I know to some people this sounds whacked out, but I love my cats.
Oh, Art, I had one. The reason I'm calling, I had one for 15 years. I've been trying to get through because there's been so many guests that we could have touched on the same topic. I had him for 15 years, and I had to put him down. And Art, I'm 40 years old. I cried like a 12-year-old boy.
Yeah, I know.
You know, I loved him so dearly. He was just such a good animal. He was such a good character. And I'd like to think that when I pass on, there's a chance, like we say, we see our relatives beckoning or we see friends, and which I certainly hope so, and I do believe. But I'd also like to believe that I'm going to see this animal again. And
I think that all living things have an eternal element to them. If you believe in Zen Buddhism, they believe even far more than that. That every life form is evolving to eventually attain a human life form, and they believe. Well, and I don't necessarily buy into this. That it's possible to actually go in reverse depending on your karma. So I do believe I haven't mentioned it to anybody, and I've been very reluctant, and I'm writing about it in my book because I'm still trying to understand it myself. But I can say this: I have had an astral experience with what I do believe to be an animal spirit. I don't quite understand it because it kind of shocked me, and it was the first time.
Right.
But it definitely was not human, and it was not something that was unfamiliar to me. Meaning that I definitely think I know who this animal spirit is. It's something that I put a dog that I had in the past. So I believe that everything has some type of spirit. Not all spirits are going to be at a higher astral plane.
Right.
A lot of these things are going to be at a lower level because they're not as evolved.
Sure. Yes,
so
I
you
do
may
believe
not
that
encounter them when you have an out-of-body experience.
Oh, I agree with you so much on that. I believe that there's certain levels that we all attain to try and strive to get, and we're here many times until we succeed on that.
Right.
And you have answered my question, but that kind of puts a damper in that. That little theory with the weight thing on the soul. When it doesn't happen in animals, there's a little something about that.
But you know, we don't know what all the
What
it
we're
takes
weighing,
to
sure.
measure the spirit, the soul.
But it is still quite interesting, isn't it?
It is.
That
I think it's fascinating.
On people, this would happen. On animals,
Yeah,
as well.
I think it's fascinating, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's another element that I hadn't thought about that I really would like to explore. I'd like to get more data on.
I've got one quick question.
Sure.
You said you had an animal that you had to put down,
Right.
Wow.
meaning the animal was sick or something.
Right. I'll tell you what. For 15 years, I had him, and he had some back leg problems, as
Yep.
older animals do.
Yep.
He had the arthritis, like all of us get at times.
Yep.
And but I come home from work one night. I get off about 11. I got home from work, and I found him on the floor.
Yep.
And I knew right then and there that this was not. I did all I could, Art. I mean, it was a Sunday night. I had to rush him to an emergency clinic, which cost me like $500 just
I
to go
hear
through
you.
the door.
I know.
And you know, money was not an object.
I know. But
I
listen to
told
where
these
listen to where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
If somebody found you in the same condition,
Yeah. And you know, that goes back to that thing that we talk about so much on your show, that play out the cards. You know, live.
well, yeah, but you didn't give your animal a chance to play the cards out.
I know, but he was suffering so bad.
I know.
And
well,
they told me there was nothing they could do. And I
well,
tried everything.
Yeah, but humans frequently get exactly the diagnosis you just mentioned.
Sure.
Sorry, there's nothing you can do. You're going to be in pain.
Sure.
We'll do the best we can.
And
we'll
don't
give
think.
you shots.
And you know what? It was so hard. I know there's a lot of people out there. There's animal lovers, and then there's those people that are you crazy.
Yep.
You know, I mean, Art, right? You either love them like we do, or they just think you're nuts.
I know.
Well, Art, there is a human equivalent to what you're talking about, and he's called Dr. Jack Kevorkian.
I know.
So we are doing it. It's just maybe not in as many numbers as we are with our pets.
Yeah, it's not a common practice.
But yeah, it is being done.
Interesting. I mean, if you ascribe a soul and a personality and a consciousness to an animal, then what right have we to put them down? And if we do, then why can that judgment not be made about us?
Very true. You have a very, very interesting point, and it's going to be probably battled out for quite a time to come.
Yep. Oh, Wildcard Line, you're on the air with Al Taylor. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I kind of got a statement, actually.
Okay.
You were talking about what good is it for reincarnation?
If there's no conscious recall.
Right. Well, I'm not sure I believe in reincarnation, but I was just kind of mulling over in my mind what good it would be, and the conclusion I came to is, you know, after you die, then you spend time with your creator or your guide or what have you, and at that point, you know, you're dealing with an omnipotent being, okay, and you know, so this person or being or whatever you call it has the ability to see past and future and so on, and you know, as far as where you get placed, it depends upon your past life history. It's kind of like a stew, for example. You know, you need some pepper or whatever. You know, so you go over here. You follow what I'm saying?
Not yet.
Okay.
In other words, if you're saying that this is like a big schoolhouse, then I follow it.
Well, yeah, so to speak, I guess. But I'm just kind of, it's not, I guess I'm trying to go a little bit farther than that, in that, you know, if there was a reincarnation, it seems like you would participate in it. And, you know, the things that you carry over from your previous lives, you know, like as a baby gets older, you know, you can tell that they have their own personality. You know, that just comes with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as they begin to develop it, you know.
Right.
It's not purely because they're your child, they're going to be like you.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And I guess what I'm saying with that is that if you carry these things from your previous lives with you, and you also have a selection into where you're going to go, then at that point, you know, that's what it's good for, you know, because you're dealing with something that has the ability to know what types of experiences you're going to have in your life.
Right. Right. It knows what's best for you.
Right.
Yeah, you know, the thing is that we have more than one self. We have a lower self and a higher self. The lower self is what, the ego, the personality that we function with most of the day.
Yeah.
But the higher self is capable of seeing things that are far beyond the desires and wants that are limiting by the ego and personality self.
All
So
right.
the higher self's choices are going to be, it's kind of like a parent. It's going to be in the long term and what's best for the personality rather than what the personality wants.
All right. Hold it right there. What we're going to do when we come back is talk about this. We've talked about this before. If you're outside your body,
You're the devil in disguise.
how do you know? Like a dark-haired beauty that comes into your life.
You fool me with your kisses. You cheated and you schemed.
How do you know what you get?
Heaven knows how you lied to me. You're not the way you seem.
Might be the other guy.
You look like an angel. Walk like an
To talk with Art Bell in the Kingdom of Nye, from east of the Rockies, dial 1-800-825-5033. 1-800-825-5033. West of the Rockies, including Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico, 1-800-618-8255. 1-800-618-8255.
Good morning, everybody. That's always been a very important song to me. Never break that chain.
And now, back to the best of Art Bell.
Here is Mr. Soul Traveler, Albert Taylor, once again. Albert, welcome.
Art, I have a story I'd like to share with you. I've been dying to do this for 2 years.
All right, go.
2 years ago, I had this crazy idea to quit my job at the space station and publish my diary, a book called Soul Traveler.
Right.
I borrowed money on everything I had, and I published the book, and sales were doing mediocre. And about 6 months into it, I got a letter from my distributor who puts me in Barnes & Noble and all that, and they said, "We're sorry to inform you, but we're going bankrupt with all of your money, and we may be able to pay you 10 cents on a dollar."
Oh, my God.
Yeah, everything fell apart. That was my only income. 3 months later, I was sitting in my bedroom with an eviction notice, with a notice that they were going to turn off my electricity bill. I had a notice from my car dealer, car place, that the repo man was looking for my car. Everything was crashing down around me. And I sat there. Because I've been having these spiritual experiences, I call it having a light at the end of my spirit, a spiritual light at the end of my tunnel.
Sure.
I sat there and I prayed. I said, "God, I really thought you wanted me to do this because they came to me. I knew nothing about this stuff. I started having experience without it. And I said, if you really want me to do this, I need a miracle." And I prayed for it. The next morning, I got up and I walked over to my computer. Even my email address is in every one of my books. I thought about that. I don't know why, but I'm glad I did. And I opened up my email, and there was a message that said, "Art Bell, call me."
That's right.
I have been trying to find out for 2 years how you got my email address. I got a letter today from the woman who 2 years ago I did this little tiny bookstore in Modesto, California, and I didn't know what was going to happen, but she is the one who faxed you my email address after reading my book, and the next thing I knew, I was on your show, and literally the next day, within 24 hours after doing your show, my life changed forever. So I wanted to just thank Darlene, if I could, because God bless you. You have totally changed my life, and she was the instrument of my miracle by contacting you, and I'm deeply, deeply grateful.
That is quite a remarkable story. I mean, that really is quite remarkable.
It's a miracle, Art. It really is. And here and now.
Well, it was all synchronistic because you full well know how it developed on my show with just people calling and calling and calling and calling. And I was grasping at straws trying to figure out how to get somebody to talk to this phenomenon that was occurring. And Darlene, I now know, sent me that and said, here's somebody who's written a book about it. And that's how it all occurred. And then, of course, I sent you email, and I said, help.
Yes. And I thought to myself, at first I thought it was a joke, because I thought, Art Bell doesn't even know I'm alive. What is he doing emailing me? And I called you, and it was you. And I have, here it is, 2 years later, and I am counting, 9 shows later, and I have a diary that's a #1 LA Times bestseller. I have a television series coming out later this year based on my book, and I'm traveling all over the place talking to people about spiritual awareness and out-of-body experiences, and I am truly grateful because it is truly a miracle, and I want to thank you and her.
Well, you're welcome. Glad to help. You've been good. That's why you've been back.
Thank you very much.
East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Albert Taylor.
Yeah, hi, this is Brian from Lansing.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, I was just wondering, Al, do you think there's any connection between dreams and, astral projection and out-of-body?
Yes. Well, dreams, you're talking about level of consciousness here and level of awareness. You can transition from...
Precognitive dreams. You dream it.
Well, that's all. I'd say that's all a talent of spirit. When spirit is capable of, it's getting all kinds of information other than what the 5 senses are giving it. So sometimes, but unfortunately, not everybody can interpret this information. So sometimes it comes to you in symbology, in a lot of symbology. Sometimes it comes in to you, but the way it comes to you is in a way that you can understand it. The more and more awareness and the more lucidity you have during these experiences, the less and less symbols and convoluted things, images that you get. Eventually, you get a clearer and clearer and clearer idea of what's going on beyond the physical. Eventually, if you get to a heightened sense, you can actually project the consciousness beyond the body and have an out-of-body experience. So, yes, it's all related. It's just a lower level of awareness.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. And on to West of the Rockies. You're on the air with Albert Taylor and Art Bell. Hi.
Hello, it's Scott calling from Auburn, California.
Hello, Scott.
To KSD 650 in Sacramento. I've had a out-of-body experience and a near-death experience. I was just wondering...
were they the same?
I'm sorry?
Were they the same?
No, they are actually... I've had 2 NDEs and 1 OBE.
Wow.
And you've had your OBE?
That's it.
And, boy, I'll tell you what, it changes your life.
Yes, it does.
As far as, I saw the light and I saw the, you call it the Crystal Palace. What do you think that is? Because I know what I saw.
The light?
The crystal, what I felt was just this unconditional, pure love and this feeling of, just this incredible feeling of knowledge. And I've yet to been able to describe it to people other than, what I'm telling you.
Right. Well, I totally understand. In 1993, July, I'll never ever forget it, I was having an out-of-body experience, and all of a sudden I felt, while I was floating above the bed trying to figure out what I was going to do, all of a sudden I had this feeling that my consciousness was opened up, and everything you could possibly want to know about anything was poured in briefly.
That was it.
So for a short period of time, I had absolutely no questions. I understood everything.
You didn't have to ask because it was
I understood everything. It was, and one of the things that I understood primarily was that was my natural state of existence.
Exactly.
I was finally home.
Right.
And so I understand exactly and that's what it is. It's going back home and connecting with your true self, where you don't have all these fears and worries and things like that. All you have is an incredible, overwhelming sense of love, and that's really the most powerful force in that realm.
And to me, that is what God is. God is love.
Well, I couldn't dispute that at all. I would say that times 10.
Yeah, and Art?
Yes, sir.
One question for you real quick.
Sure.
Years ago, I was DXing, and I used to pick up a station out of Vegas. And I heard this show, and there was a talk show host who was having a leak through a ceiling.
That was me.
That was you?
Absolutely.
Someday, if you could tell that story, I mean, it was funny, it was scary.
I'll tell the story very briefly now. It's very quick and easy. It wasn't at the time. It's now that you look back on it, you can laugh. But it wasn't so funny at the time. That was KWN. And that's where I began in Las Vegas, and that was in the Union Plaza Hotel. And here I was at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and all of this liquid, this dark-colored liquid, began coming through the ceiling. And I freaked out. I was like up on the second floor or third floor of the building, I forget. And it started dripping on the equipment. You know, I called the manager. I said, my God, something is about to burst through the ceiling. And my boss laughed, and he said, bet you didn't know there was a 50,000-gallon swimming pool directly above you, huh? And so, but they knew that wasn't the case, I guess. So that totally freaked me out. And then I waited, and the maintenance people for the hotel came, and they flipped out when they saw what was happening. It was like it was raining in there. And this long period of time goes by. When I'm staying on the air, I'm thinking I'm going to get electrocuted, right? And I'm throwing stuff over the equipment to keep it from going up in flames. And finally, this hotel guy, this maintenance guy, comes in, and I put the microphone over there, and I say, what has been happening to me? And he said, do you really want to know? And I said, yeah, I really want to know. He said, well, it's a terrible backed up toilet. And I went, oh, God, no wonder it was dark. And the next day, the hotel freaked out so badly, they served the radio station with notice, so I was getting the whole radio station kicked out of the hotel.
Wow. Wow. That's disgusting, Art.
It was disgusting. It was horrible. And this went on. It had to have gone on for like an hour and a half. It was a big drama.
Oh, God.
And, of course, what it turned out to be was
sewage.
Sewage was horrible.
Oh,
it was horrible.
That is horrible. God.
There's parts of it I can't even tell. First-time caller line, you're on the air with Albert Taylor. Hello.
Yes, this is Ron from Montana.
Hello, Ron.
Hello, Ron.
Hello, Al. Hello. Well, Art, you sound a lot different on the phone than you do on the radio.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, you do. That's why I said, what? What do you mean? I thought I had the wrong number.
No, you have the right number.
Yeah. I've heard you mention several times that you have never seen anybody come back after 3 or 4 days to verify that they've been dead.
That's right.
Well, I think probably it's because there's probably a certain amount of time whenever you go in a state of OBE or near-death experience or whatever that the umbilical cord is cut, and kind of like a woman having a baby. Once that cord is cut, then that entity's on its own. There's no way that it can go back and be a part.
Well, that's a reasonable explanation.
Yeah.
To be sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it only reinforces what I'm saying, and that is that an NDE is one thing, but we still don't really know if there is truly an existence after death based on the fact that we have NDEs or based on the fact that we have OBEs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We have probability.
Yeah.
We have a likeliness that based on everybody's story. I think, to mention him again, Daniel, since he woke up in the morgue, I think his story is one of the most fascinating.
Oh, it is.
You know, because clinically they declared him dead.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that he did not lose consciousness and he recalled a lot of things. And then if that were in itself the only thing that happened, that's really inconclusive. But the fact that he was able to predict certain events around the globe that were transpiring and did happen, I think that something very, very monumental happened to him.
Yes, he predicted the Chernobyl, I believe, incident.
Oh, yes.
So that tells you there's something else going on.
That and a lot more.
Yes.
But even then, I would say, look, I absolutely believe that our brains are capable of all kinds of things, that ESP and PSI abilities are real, and that when people get hit by lightning or they have other trauma, areas of their brains begin to operate that otherwise would not. So I believe all of that is possible, but it's still an artifact of a living brain.
Well, you know, what's amazing, you know, if you look at a lot of things, Art, especially the one thing that I find fascinating is that throughout history, I mean, as far back as we can remember, people have had been put in life or death situations where you hear this so many times, my life flashed before me, before my eyes. Well, it wasn't until in the last maybe 2 or 3 decades that people have been coming forward and talking about near-death experiences. And in the near-death experience, they've been talking about the panoramic past life review. So it's still not 100%, but all of these stories about this type of thing and being able to put it together no matter what the people believe tends to point towards there's something going on. Whether we can define it or identify it, you know, remains to be seen.
You and I have only one really major area of disagreement.
What's that?
And that is, you believe that there is a God and there is not a devil. Me, I believe there probably is a God, and if there is, then I think there's a devil too. Yeah, for almost, I mean,
yin and yang.
Look anywhere in nature, and there's a positive and a negative. So why shouldn't there be when it gets to that level?
Well, you know, what I think is interesting about the devil is especially when I went to Greece, and you know, Greek mythology talks about Hades, Lord of the underworld.
Right.
Well, you know, that was around a lot longer than Christianity, and I think it's very interesting the similarities in the devil versus the Lord of the Hades. I think there's a lot of mythology that has been adopted as maybe fact in a lot of cases that maybe may not be as true as we think it is, and may not even be based on our beliefs today, like Christianity or whatever. So a lot of those stories tend to make me think that maybe maybe we've put this kind of fearful dogma on this kind of thing. Like, for instance, I don't know why we are, but it's the nature of the beast. We jump to the negative rather than the positive in a lot of experiences. I get countless letters from people saying, I saw a demon at the end of my bed.
Yes.
But they don't say anything beyond that. So to me, it could be a demon, could be an angel, but they chose to jump to the negative. So regarding the devil, I mean, I can't say it does or does not exist. I just know that from all of the experiences that I've had and all of the experiences that people write me about and I've talked to them about, I mean, almost, I'd say less than 1%. Angie Fenimore is one who wrote a near-death experience book about the hell, but there's less than 1% of the people who actually talk about eternal damnation and fire and brimstone. So I would think it would be kind of a more of a prevalent thing, and a lot more people would be talking about it if it really exists. But a lot of those people, almost 99% of them, talk about a higher self, a light, or God. So it's just the majority I'm going with.
I hope you're right, Al. All right, listen, we are at the end of yet another program. Whoosh, just like that.
Wow. Amazing.
Yep, that's right.
Truly
It's
amazing.
like flying out of your body. So, Soul Traveler, I recommend it to everybody. It is a wonderful landmark book. Go get it at your bookstore. It should be nationwide now. You should have no trouble finding it.
Oh, definitely. Wonder if I could give out the 1-800 number again for the Colorado conference.
You may indeed.
Because I hope I see tons of people there. It's going to be a wonderful experience. It's 888 416 4312. And I look forward to seeing all of you there.
Where again?
It's in Boulder, Colorado.
Boulder, Colorado.
March 12th through the 14th.
12th through the 14th.
William Bowman, Patricia Leva, myself, and I believe even Bob Peterson is signed on, who's written a book on out-of-body experiences. So there'll be 4 of us there, and that's a ton of information.
It sure is. 1-888-416-4312.
Correct.
All right.
Okay, Art, once again, it's been a wonderful pleasure.
Thank you, my friend. Good night.
Thank you.
All right, that's it, folks. We're out of time, my Canadian friends would say. Tell you what, though, for any ham operators out there, for a few minutes here, I am going to jump onto 75 meters and 3830 shortly. Just a few moments after I get off the air here. I'm going to jump on to 3830 and talk to some of you. So if you're a ham operator, go warm up the old tube rig and say hello to you. That's the 75-meter ham band, 3830, or 3.830. For now, from the high desert, that's it. Still in my body, but I'm out of here.
From the Kingdom of Nye, this is Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. From east of the Rockies, call Art at 1-800-825-5033. West of the Rockies, including Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico, at 1-800-618-8255. First-time callers may reach Art at area code 702-727-1222. And you may fax Art at area code 702-727-8499.
Been traveling far, without a home, not without a star.
Thank you, Neil Diamond. I got my photo, you know. And it's up on the website.
Only want to be free.
Hardly anybody gets to get a photo with Neil Diamond.
We huddle close.
But Ramona and I did. It was so cool. It's on the website now. Good morning, everybody.
On the boats and on the planes, they're coming to America, never looking back again. They're coming to America, home. Don't it seem so far?
Well, hey, there's no way you can just not get chills with that song. There's nobody like Diamond. Nobody. Well, there's always things I forget, so I've got a couple of notes for you. Note number one. Welcome, WSGW-AM in Saginaw, Michigan. Now taking the show 7 nights a week. Good to have you with us, Saginaw. That's one. Two, Albert Taylor, author of Soul Traveler. It's going to be up shortly. We're going to talk about a lot more than soul travel this time. Then I'm supposed to remind you, if you have a computer, broadcast.com is coming to see me all the way from Dallas. And there's this new, it's called a frame rate line or frame rate something or another. And then they're going to put in a computer, one fast computer. And we're going to be sending streaming video with this new G2 technology. It's in kind of a 3-month experiment. So go to my website where I embarrassingly speculated I might be wrong. Indeed, I am wrong. And you can hit a link and go right over and download G2 so you're ready. It could happen as early as the end of the week. We'll see. Then one other item, Larry King and I are going to exchange visits. I'm going to be on Larry King Live Friday, March 5th, which should be quite an experience. For an hour, I am told. In return, he has promised to come on my program and talk to all, everybody who used to listen to him here late at night. We should have a lot to talk about. Then, of course, there's The Source, and I want to tell you about that. Brad Steiger and I have written a book called The Source, which touches every single aspect of the paranormal. And then, in the end, in a way that I refuse to give away, ties it all together. In other words, so much in the world of the paranormal, whether it's what Al Taylor is going to talk about tonight, or it's UFO sightings, or it's Bigfoot sightings, or it's any one of a gazillion things, our speculation is, with some substance, that there is a single source that will explain all of this, and that's what the book is, The Source. If you would like a dual autograph copy, be aware, my tolerance for autographing is very, very small indeed, and so I will poop out early, which means that you must order soon if you want the Brad Steiger and Art Bell autograph. Brad Steiger, I think, has a lot of stamina and will probably keep doing it, but I won't. So, if you want a copy of The Source autographed, it's 1-800-864-7991. Now, it's hitting the bookstores nationwide. But, of course, there will not be autographs there. 1-800-864-7991. One last item. Something you didn't know. The guy who does The Voice.
To talk with Art Bell in the Kingdom of Nye.
That guy. That's Ross Mitchell, of course. And some months ago, the group ZZ Top, you know ZZ Top, right? Everybody knows ZZ Top. They approached me, and they are going to use the voice of Ross Mitchell in a new ZZ Top song. I said, okay, about this program. It's going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to it. Anyway, they apparently are listeners, and they've been listening, and so for some reason they decided to send me a CD, a very special CD player, and I want to thank them, that will phase music. And that arrived today. Boy, what a surprise. They said just a little token. Just a little token. Wow, cool. This CD player has something called Jet. Now, in Jet mode, it takes a song and digitally delays or does something to it so that you can actually, it's as though you were phasing in the normal way, if you want to call phasing normal at all, which means running two products simultaneously and having them cross zero beat just slightly back and forth so you end up with that wonderful phased sound. And this CD player will actually do that. ZZ Top sent me one of them. Thank you very much. It's very nice of you. So, all that said, coming up in just a moment, the author of Soul Traveler and really a wild guy, Albert Taylor. Stay right where you are.
And now, back to the best of Art Bell.
All right. Well, here is Al Taylor. Al Taylor, welcome back. Good to have you.
Thank you, Art. It's a pleasure to be back once again.
You're always a lot of fun.
So, thank you. You too, Art.
Soul Traveler, you still would say you have not yet written another book, right?
I'm in the process of writing it now, and it should be out in early February of year 2000.
You're kidding.
No. I think it's going to be incredible.
Really?
Yeah, it's going to be in the first book, Art, since I was just finding this stuff out myself, and I have to admit I was very apprehensive about even sharing in detail some of the things I did, so I held back a lot of things in the first book. But this first book has been so well received that I'm just going to tell everything as I discovered it and hope people can relate to it.
What is the working title of this new book?
The working title is Soul Traveler 2, The Fantastic Voyage, and the subtitle is A Journey from the Wonders Beyond to Unveiling the Meaning of Life.
Not headed toward the small stuff at all, huh?
No. I think I want to put my best foot forward because, like I said, I didn't know that this book was going to be so well received, and I didn't know there were so many people out there beyond the people in my family having these kind of wonderful experiences.
Well, there are. Why did you hold things back, Albert?
Because first of all, well, you got to remember, here I was training astronauts at Johnson Space Center. And I knew if the book got out, I didn't want it to be too far out there so that maybe I would lose my standing at NASA and all the other programs. So I was reluctant to really tell everyone exactly what was happening. Plus, it conflicted with my Catholic upbringing and everything that I've grown up with. So it was very difficult for me to even accept it myself, let alone try to tell someone else about it. But now I think I'm ready.
Now, how much did you hold back?
I'd say a good 40%.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
Oh, my word, 40%.
Yeah. I think it's...
Can you give me an example of a few things you held back?
Oh, well, I didn't talk about reincarnation in detail in the book. I didn't talk about past or other lives because I don't believe in past lives because through all the travels that I've had, I've discovered that there really isn't any time. Time is an element of the physical, so I call it other lives. I didn't talk about that. And I didn't talk about what I like to call the game. And the game are rules to actually living life. There's certain things that are set up that if you can become aware of them, you can live and explore this wonderful thing called life and really be prosperous. So
give me an example of some of those. That's really interesting, the game.
Well,
it is a game.
Yes.
Life is a game. And you're right. If you know if you become aware of certain rules,